She just deleted him like that. Lucas Taylor stared, dumbfounded. It's just deleting someone, nothing surprising. She'd only added him in the first place out of respect for his sister, Jessica Taylor. You have to make allowances in business. Zara, you. Lucas Taylor felt wronged, his expression crestfallen, words stuttering out. He was completely flustered. How could Zara Sinclair block and delete him right in front of his face? Was he really that unlikable? He was a handsome guy, 5 feet 11 inches for crying out loud. This didn't just wound his male pride. It trampled all over his feelings for her. The necklace slipped from his hand and fell to the floor, like his own discarded heart. Lucas Taylor stood motionless for a long moment, then turned to watch Zara Sinclair's retreating figure, a vicious anger surging within him. Since he couldn't have Zara Sinclair's heart, he wanted her body, his mind filled with thoughts of possessing and conquering her, even if it meant resorting to illegal means. He wouldn't care if people called him an immoral animal. He'd willingly accept it. If persuasion didn't work, maybe sleeping with her would. A forced relationship might not be sweet, but it could quench his thirst. Once he'd had her, made it a done deal, she'd have no choice but to accept whether she wanted to or not. Lucas Taylor bent down and picked up the necklace. He gripped it tightly, his thumb pressing down on the snakehead clasp, rubbing it slowly. In that moment, it felt as if he held Zara Sinclair herself in his grasp. Zara Sinclair changed course and headed for the restroom, only to run into Serena Sinclair halfway there. Speaking of her and Lucas Taylor possibly being a couple, they certainly seemed to be in sync about some things. Zara Sinclair was in a good mood today and, for her grandmother's sake, didn't want to stoop to Serena's level. But some people are just naturally asking for trouble. They seem to itch for a beating if they don't get one. Serena Sinclair seemed to be waiting for her deliberately, leaning against the wall with her arms crossed, a disdainful look on her face. Sister, wasn't it nice staying abroad? Why did you have to come back and be an eyesore? I heard it's dangerous overseas, lots of shootings. Why didn't you just die there? Seeing Zara Sinclair ignore her, she chased after her, blocking her path and taunting. There's no one else around. Tell me, if I go out right now and say you bullied me, what will Mom and Dad think of you? What will everyone else think? Zara Sinclair finally deigned to look her in the eye. Amazing how after all these years, Serena's petty tricks hadn't changed a bit. Zara Sinclair couldn't help but recall the past. Serena had always been such a two-faced schemer. Falling and claiming Zara pushed her, ripping her own clothes and blaming Zara, losing things and accusing Zara of stealing, even blaming bad test scores on Zara distracting her. Once, twice, countless times. No matter what Serena said, their parents always took her side. Even when Zara presented evidence proving her innocence, Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair showed no remorse, even saying things like, "You're 3 years older than your sister. She's so young, can't you, as the older sister, just let her have her way?" A 10-year-old making mistakes could be excused as being young and naive. But someone still acting like this at 25? What was that? An overgrown baby? If everything she did was considered wrong anyway, that meant she could do anything she wanted. Having reached this conclusion, Zara Sinclair reached out, grabbed Serena Sinclair by the hair, and dragged her into a nearby storage closet. Serena Sinclair, terrified, shrieked, "Zara Sinclair, what are you doing? Didn't you say I bullied you? Well, I might as well prove you right." Zara Sinclair knew how to fight. She used a restraining hold to pin Serena against the wall. "Tell me, what kind of effect are you going for? How badly do you want to be hurt? If you dare touch me, Mom and Dad will never forgive you." "Oh, I'm so scared." The words barely left her mouth before Zara Sinclair grabbed the hair at the back of Serena's head and slammed her face into the wall. Just one hit, and Serena saw stars. "Since you won't tell me, I'll just decide for myself." Zara Sinclair's chilling voice sounded right next to her ear, sending a shiver down Serena's spine. It hurt so much. It felt like the scalp on the back of her head was being ripped off. Serena started spewing vile curses. Zara Sinclair found it distasteful and didn't listen closely, only catching one sentence. "No one has ever dared to treat me like this." Zara Sinclair laughed. "Congratulations, you've met someone who dares. Tonight, I'll give you an unforgettable first time." The storage closet was small and cramped, not much room to move, but more than enough to handle Serena. Noticing her meticulously manicured nails, Zara Sinclair grabbed her hand and bent one backward until it snapped. The nail cracked, tearing away from the flesh. Serena experienced excruciating pain tonight. How do you quickly stop someone from cursing? Gag them. Zara Sinclair found some cloth, she wasn't sure what, and gave Serena a bright smile. Serena was actually already in too much pain to curse, reduced to helpless sobbing. The world was spinning, tears streaming uncontrollably down her face. Suddenly, Zara forcefully shoved the cloth into her gasping mouth. Whether it was her imagination or not, the cloth seemed to carry a disgusting stench, causing her to gag instinctively. Tired from the exertion, Zara Sinclair stood up, elegantly tucking a stray strand of hair behind her ear. She looked down imperiously at Serena, who was trembling on the floor. "Do you know the biggest difference between you and me? Without the Sinclair family, I'm still President Sinclair. Without the Sinclair family, you're nothing but a joke." Serena's fingers were bleeding. Enduring the pain, she pulled the cloth from her mouth, her eyes filled with suppressed humiliation and resentment. "Then why did you come back to fight me?" "Oh, it was convenient." Zara Sinclair's words sounded casual, but they were lethal, like an icy blade plunging into Serena Sinclair. Whether it was from the beating or the shock of Zara's words, Serena Sinclair's eyes rolled back, and she fainted. A perfectly fine birthday gala turned into a day of suffering. Why bother? Serena really needed to stop asking for it. It only brought her harm. Hopefully, this experience would help her break that bad habit. Zara Sinclair calmly and elegantly stepped over Serena Sinclair, opened the closet door, and turned to go into the adjacent restroom to wash her hands, as if she'd touched something filthy. She pumped soap and meticulously scrubbed each finger. After drying her hands with a paper towel, she returned to the main hall. This time, she truly didn't want to stay any longer. "Grandma, shouldn't we be heading back?" Grandma Wood was holding her iPhone. "I'm staying here tonight. If you're tired, you can go back first. I already called Ethan Young to come pick you up." Zara Sinclair was surprised. "You already called him? What did he say?" Grandma Wood said proudly. "He said he's on his way and told you to wait. He'll call your iPhone when he arrives." Learning that Ethan Young was coming to get her, Zara Sinclair's earlier gloom vanished, replaced by an unprecedented sense of relief and lightness. Grandma Wood inwardly congratulated herself. Having gone to the trouble of making her granddaughter look so beautiful, she naturally wanted her prospective grandson-in-law to see. As the grandmother, she wouldn't play gooseberry tonight. "Grandma, maybe you shouldn't stay here tonight. If you want to go back to Pinecrest Rehabilitation Center, I can have the driver take you." She was worried something might happen if she left her grandmother here alone. Concerned about her grandmother's health, Zara Sinclair acted with extra caution. Although Grandma Wood didn't know what was happening, seeing Zara Sinclair's serious expression, she didn't dare disobey and cooperated, saying, "All right, I'll listen to you. Whatever you say." Zara Sinclair called the driver on her iPhone. Only after personally seeing her grandmother into the car did she feel relieved. Knowing Ethan Young was coming to pick her up, Zara Sinclair went straight out of the villa to wait for him at the intersection. Outside, the night was quiet and deep, and the wind was strong. Although Zara Sinclair was cold, she maintained her best posture. Worried Ethan Young wouldn't see her when he arrived, she deliberately chose a prominent streetlight and stood beneath it, her dress shimmering with subtle sparkles. Not long after Zara Sinclair saw her grandmother off, people inside discovered Serena Sinclair lying unconscious on the floor. The second daughter of the Sinclair family, the birthday girl tonight, savagely beaten near the restroom on the night of her 25th birthday gala. How cruel, how audacious to show such blatant disregard for the Sinclair family. "Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair cried as they held Serena Sinclair. With dark expressions, Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair harshly vowed to catch the perpetrator and make them pay. The ambulance arrived quickly, its blue lights cutting prominently through the night, no one daring to block its path. Just as Serena Sinclair was being loaded into the ambulance, Ethan Young's car pulled up. Under the streetlight, the woman wore a long green dress with a rich texture that highlighted both her figure and her fair complexion. Standing there gracefully, she was a captivating sight. The night wind tousled her hair. She lowered her head to tuck a stray strand behind her ear. Hearing the car, she looked up. As it drew closer, their eyes met through the windshield. Ethan Young got out of the car and looked at Zara Sinclair in the distance. It was as if she wore the light itself, guiding him forward. He had only taken a couple of steps when he saw Zara Sinclair lifting her skirt and running towards him, quickly. Then, that beam of light threw itself into his arms. He was drawn by the light, trapped by the light, warmed by the light. Zara Sinclair tilted her face up to smile at him, a gentle and tender smile. He didn't know what to do with his hands, clenching them into fists, carefully holding her from behind, afraid of hurting her, afraid she might fall. "My heels are too high. I twisted my ankle. Good thing you caught me." Breathless with excitement, her breathing was heavier than usual, puffing lightly against Ethan Young's neck. "Did you hurt your foot? Does it hurt?" Zara Sinclair wiggled her foot, pressing closer. It doesn't hurt. Ethan Young suddenly tensed, his atoms apple-bobbing. I could have walked over to you. You didn't have to run over so quickly. Ethan Young was good at pretending, always acting composed, but in reality, he couldn't control himself either. Could he? A person could control their expression, feign indifference, pretend not to see her, but they couldn't control their body's subconscious reactions. His reaction told her he was nervous holding her. Zara Sinclair didn't look at Ethan Young's face. Instead, she stared at his prominent Adam's apple, fighting the urge to touch it. Using the support of Ethan Young's arm, Zara Sinclair straightened up. But every step I run is one less step you have to walk. I prefer running to walking slowly anyway. This way I'm not cold anymore, and we can get in the car with the heat on. Catching the keyword cold, Ethan Young took off his coat and draped it over her shoulders. Then, looking at her dress, he complimented her sincerely. You look beautiful today. Zara Sinclair pulled his coat tighter around herself, almost burying her face in it. Grandma helped me pick it out. I dressed like this hoping you'd see. It's lovely. Green really suits you. In all the time he'd known Zara Sinclair, he had never seen her dressed up so beautifully. Usually, Zara Sinclair wore suits for work, looking rather serious and reserved. Beautiful people look good, even in a trash bag, but Zara Sinclair in her work attire gave off an imposing, keep-your-distance vibe. By the way, I saw an ambulance when I arrived. Did something happen inside? Zara Sinclair nodded. Something happened. Seeing her expression suddenly darken, Ethan Young thought she was involved. Are you okay? Zara Sinclair chuckled at his concern. What could happen to me? Someone else had a problem. It's just a small thing, nothing to do with me. That's good. Let's get in the car first. Ethan Young opened the passenger door for Zara Sinclair. At the same time, a sports car approached from a distance, its high beams on. Ethan Young quickly turned the car around and drove off. The sports car had been following him, but got stopped by a red light. The person in the sports car was Lucas Taylor. He had clearly seen Zara Sinclair get into a man's car. Unfortunately, he was too far away to see the man's face clearly, but his build looked very similar to that Ethan Young he'd met on set. He was probably overthinking it. Zara Sinclair wouldn't just get into any man's car. It must have been her driver. Bro, why were you chasing that car? You almost ran the red light, asked Alice Taylor, sitting beside him. I just saw Zara get into some guy's car. I'm a little worried. Alice Taylor was scrolling through trending topics on her iPhone, her tone dismissive. So what if she did? Zara's 28. It's perfectly normal for her to date someone. Besides, what does it matter to you whose car she gets into? The person you should really be worried about right now is Serena. Who knows who knocked her out? Beaten up like that at her own birthday gala. Whoever did it was vicious. Right now, Lucas Taylor couldn't bear to connect the words Zara Sinclair and dating. Just the thought of her dating someone made his insides twist uncomfortably. He was the one who met Zara Sinclair first. He'd had a crush on her for so long, even went abroad for her. How could she suddenly find some other guy? Lucas Taylor wanted to text Zara Sinclair and ask her about it, but as he took out his iPhone, he remembered she had already blocked him. Furious, Lucas Taylor slammed his fist on the steering wheel. The sudden action startled Alice Taylor beside him. Alice Taylor gripped her seatbelt tightly. Bro, don't scare me. You look like you have serious road rage. Lucas Taylor took a deep breath. That guy looked a lot like Ethan Young. Ethan Young. Alice Taylor paused, then chuckled awkwardly. You're saying the guy with Zara is Ethan Young? No way. Zara just got back to the country. How would she know Ethan Young? Besides, Ethan Young is just a broke, unknown actor. Do you really think someone with Zara's status would be with him? They're worlds apart. Lucas Taylor thought the same, but he couldn't suppress the unease in his heart. Normally, Lucas wouldn't have thought twice, but Zara Sinclair suddenly blocking and deleting him tonight. Her reaction was exactly like someone drawing a clear line with other guys after getting a boyfriend. Seeing Lucas Taylor still frowning, Alice Taylor started to feel uneasy too. Could it really be Ethan Young? Ethan Young hadn't taken an acting job in a long time, and now he suddenly lands such a great leading role. It's way better than any opportunities he had before. He just left Sinclair Media Group not long ago. So who connected him with this film? Just because Ethan Young didn't have a sponsor before doesn't mean he doesn't have one now. Thinking about the timing, Ethan Young signed that 5-year contract just a few days after Zara Sinclair returned to the country. The more Alice Taylor thought about it, the more absurd it seemed. Yet, within the absurdity, there was a strange kind of logic. Concerned about Ethan Young's reputation, Alice Taylor couldn't help but worry. Bro, did you get a clear look at the license plate? Too far away, couldn't see clearly. I saw it started with an 8. Ethan Young's license plate. She seemed to recall it started with an 8. How can you be so sure that was Zara Sinclair? I didn't even see her get in. Lucas Taylor choked. How could he tell her he had a crush on Zara Sinclair for years, that he knew everything about her, that he often stared at her photos, lost in thought? Tonight, he'd lost count of how many times he'd looked at Zara Sinclair. Her image was burned into his mind. He could spot her from dozens of yards away. That dress she was wearing tonight was pretty eye-catching, Lucas offered. Alice Taylor nodded thoughtfully. True, Zara Sinclair looked stunning tonight. Even I couldn't help staring. Her voice was filled with envy. But then again, wasn't Lucas Taylor paying a little too much attention to Zara? Just seeing her get into a car had thrown him into a panic. He hadn't reacted nearly this strongly when Serena Sinclair had her accident and was taken away in an ambulance. Alice Taylor's mind raced, her eyes sharp with scrutiny. Lucas Taylor could only think about Zara Sinclair. If she'd really found another man, it felt like a betrayal to him. He was the only one meant to conquer this rose. He considered Zara his, and he wouldn't allow any other man to beat him to it. He wondered if the dashcam had recorded the other car's license plate. Meanwhile, in the same area, some were heading home, some were in the hospital, and others were tailing a car, searching for an answer. Did you have fun tonight? It was okay. Zara Sinclair lowered her head, smoothing her skirt as she spoke. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair tried to set me up on a blind date today. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. Ethan Young asked, so did you meet him? No, I'm already married. Why would I go on a blind date? Bigamy is illegal and immoral, Zara Sinclair joked. Is it the only reason? The words slipped out before he could stop them. Ethan Young suddenly felt a little flustered. Zara Sinclair gave a faint smile, then said seriously, besides, I don't believe anyone could be better than you. Such praise. Apart from Emily Young, few people complimented him so directly. It left him feeling a bit awkward. He focused on driving, not daring to let his eyes wander, wondering what kind of look Zara Sinclair had right now. Teasing, serious, or just casual. Thank you for the compliment, but I'm not that great. Ethan Young didn't want people to have overly high expectations of him. As the saying goes, the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. That's why he'd been so upfront about his past. From an angle where he couldn't see, Zara Sinclair watched him with a deep look in her eyes. She said softly, it's enough if I think you're good. It's not like you can change my mind, right? Ethan Young chuckled lightly. I wouldn't dare. Zara Sinclair leaned against the window, watching Ethan Young drive. Noticing the time on the display, she said, calling you to pick me up so late. Was it too much trouble? After all, we only have a marriage agreement. You can trouble me. And this kind of thing isn't trouble. He couldn't bring himself to tell Zara Sinclair to rely on him, because she wasn't some kind of accessory. Besides, they had an agreement. Doing these things was part of the deal. But sometimes he couldn't tell if his actions stemmed more from affection or just fulfilling his obligation. The drive was smooth tonight, all green lights and no traffic. The usual 50-minute trip was 15 minutes shorter today. Knowing Zara Sinclair might struggle walking in her shoes, Ethan Young got out of the car to help her. Zara Sinclair, still seated in the car, looked at his outstretched hand. Mr. Young, would you do me the honor of a dance tonight? Ethan Young paused, taken aback, but didn't ask why. He simply replied, of course. Shouldn't we have some music, though? I'll find some. Zara Sinclair reached out, turned on the car stereo, and selected a song called My Secret. The rhythmic intro began to play. Ethan Young leaned down, extending his hand. Miss Sinclair, may I have this dance? I'd love to. Zara Sinclair placed her hand in Ethan Young's palm. He helped her out of the car, and she rested her other hand on his shoulder. They moved together in time with the music's rhythm, their steps echoing the lyric. The distance between us seems to shift, near then far again. In her high heels, the top of Zara Sinclair's head reached his eyes. Lowering his gaze, Ethan Young could take in her profile, her thick eyelashes, the elegant slope of her nose. Her slender waist, easy to encircle with one hand, was in his grasp. The dress was cinched at the waist, accentuating her figure beautifully. Zara Sinclair, shedding her usual assertiveness, seemed to cling to Ethan Young like a vine. Zara Sinclair lowered her head, seemingly burying her face against Ethan Young's shoulder and neck. Ethan Young held Zara Sinclair's hand firmly and led her into a turn. Unsteady on her heels, Zara stumbled, falling into his arms. Ethan Young held her waist securely. Are you okay? Zara Sinclair, slightly breathless, replied, I'm fine. Why the sudden urge to dance? Tonight was a birthday gala. Lots of people were dancing, and several men asked me, but I turned them all down. Her hand, which had been resting on his shoulder, slowly slid down to press against Ethan Young's chest. She could feel his heart beating just as rapidly as hers. Because I only wanted to dance with you. So that was why. The thought of other men eyeing Zara Sinclair tonight inexplicably brought a pang of bitterness to his heart. His chest tightened with a dull, uncomfortable ache. Ethan Young swallowed, instinctively pulling her closer, holding her tightly against him. Ethan Young. Actually, I wasn't very happy today. At that house. Nobody likes me there. Zara Sinclair's voice was muffled. But after a moment, she reached out and hugged Ethan Young. But seeing you makes me happy. As she spoke, her breath ghosted across his neck like a feather. This time, she could not only feel Ethan Young's heart racing, but also sense the quickening pulse in his throat. No one offered her advice, so she pursued him based on instinct, using every trick in the book. Like a grade schooler tackling a college entrance exam, she progressed from cautious probing to bold, straightforward declarations. Zara Sinclair never hid her desires. Desire was normal, wasn't it? The key was how to manage it, ignore it, or fulfill it. Arthur Sinclair had always said, desire isn't something to fear. Learn to harness it. Used correctly, it could be a force for good. The same applied to Ethan Young. There was no better time than tonight. The quiet underground parking garage, the perfect atmosphere, no prying eyes, and soft love songs playing on the car stereo. I long to stay by your side. Let love permeate the world. For you, I'm willing to traverse all of time, just to remain by your side. I'm not afraid of how far the journey is. For you, I'd endure anything, no matter the direction. The lyrics stirred a long-dormant excitement within her. It was his tenderness that had unlocked her heart. Zara Sinclair wasn't as calm as she appeared. Her heart, like the song, was leaping and bounding. Ethan Young, are you happy to see me? She asked. Does seeing me every day annoy you? Or does it unsettle you? How do you feel when you hear someone wants to go on a blind date with me, wants to dance with me? Do you feel a twinge of something? She casually reached out, her fingertip resting over his heart, pressing gently. Ethan Young looked down, his gaze traveling from her fingertip, across her lips, finally locking on her eyes. In the dim light, it was unclear who leaned in first. His hands, no longer clenched, now held her waist. He should have stopped, but his body had already taken over. Zara Sinclair's head fell back as she kissed him, a soft gasp escaping her lips. One of Ethan Young's hands supported her back. The other cradled the back of her head. Following her trembling steps, he pressed her against the car door, enveloping her. Her exposed back didn't feel cold. The heat radiating from Ethan Young's palm felt as if it were setting her on fire. What little reason she had left shattered like sparks in her brain. The world seemed to shrink to just the two of them. Ethan Young was lost, knowing he shouldn't touch her, knowing he'd become addicted, yet he still crossed the line. He couldn't describe the feeling. It was unlike anything he'd ever experienced. Like a parched traveler in the desert finally stumbling upon an oasis, he rushed toward the clear water, scooping it up and drinking deeply. The sweet water soothed his dry throat, his pores opened, and blood rushed through his veins. The pleasure was overwhelming, and Ethan Young surrendered to it, following his heart. Zara Sinclair was the first to break. From the beginning, she'd sensed a stiffness in his kiss. Although she'd never kissed anyone before, she could feel the unnaturalness. They were both the same, lips pressed together rigidly, then tentatively opening, until finally it escalated. Ethan Young kissed her like a wild wolf, as if he wanted to devour her. In the heat of the moment, he even nipped her lip. She clung tightly to his neck, the only thing keeping her from collapsing. Their intertwined breaths created an unprecedented experience. They forgot everything, oblivious to everything, as if this were the last day before the end of the world, doing exactly what they wanted, indulging their every whim. After a long time, Ethan Young released her. He watched Zara Sinclair breathe against his chest, her eyes closed, lips swollen, tears staining her cheeks, and the corners of her eyes flushed beneath damp lashes. After a moment, she slowly opened her eyes, a watery gaze meeting his. Sorry, Ethan Young rasped, his voice hoarse. Zara Sinclair clung to his shoulders, feeling his heartbeat through his clothes. Her own heart raced just as fast. Why are you apologizing? Ethan Young paused. I bit you. Zara Sinclair's lips, once pink, were now red and swollen, like tempting forbidden fruit. She touched her burning lips, as if savoring the sensation. It didn't hurt. It felt good, addictive. She remained direct. With someone she liked, she wouldn't be coy. Coyness was for strangers. If she didn't express herself, how would he know her true feelings? She preferred this bone-deep intensity, this soul-shaking passion, to gentle pecks. It happened naturally. Neither of them had expected this to be the scene of their breakthrough. A few seconds later, They exchanged a look and laughed. Zara Sinclair looped her arms around his neck, her fingers tracing his skin, finally reaching his ears and playfully tugging his lobes. "My legs are sore," she said, her voice laced with a playful whine. Ethan Young lifted her onto the driver's seat and opened a bottle of water. "Want some?" Zara Sinclair took it, drank a couple of sips, then handed it back. "You too." Ethan Young drained the rest of the bottle in one long gulp. Zara Sinclair smiled, watching his Adam's apple bob as he swallowed. "That thirsty." Ethan Young's ears flushed in the dim light. He hadn't been thirsty. He'd been trying to quench a sudden, inappropriate urge. The water cleared his head. He turned serious. "Zara, I need to talk to you." Seeing his serious expression, Zara Sinclair composed herself. "About what?" "About us," Ethan Young said, his voice firm. "I want to date you. Will you be my girlfriend?" He wanted a relationship with her, regardless of the outcome. Zara Sinclair pulled his head down, quickly kissing his forehead. Yes. Life was too short to not seize the moment. She'd learned from Arthur Sinclair that success required 100 times more effort than the average person. She was always cautious, calculating every step, never indulging, never impulsive. Ethan Young was unplanned. "I want to go home," she said, "and I don't want to walk. Carry me." Ethan Young crouched in front of her, reaching back blindly. The lack of sight heightened his sense of touch. When she was securely on his back, he stood, supporting her with one arm, and closed the car door with the other. Inside the elevator, he looked at Zara Sinclair's peaceful reflection in the mirrored wall. She was draped softly against him, her cheek resting on his shoulder, her gentle breaths brushing against his neck, a delicate caress. He hadn't felt anything for her when they first met, not even after their marriage of convenience. They were like people from two different worlds, brought together by fate, but unable to truly merge. When had that changed? Perhaps it was the first day he visited her home, when she'd appeared, holding a bouquet of gardenias. Or maybe it was the lunch she'd cooked, remembering he didn't like onions. The shared breakfasts, the evening walks, the way the wind tousled her hair, the way she waited for him beneath the streetlight, her open affection, her blatant preference for him, her respect. There were many twists and turns in life, but what was meant to be, would be. In the elevator, Ethan Young held Zara Sinclair close. "So, we're a married couple in public, but secretly dating?" Yes. Had their relationship somehow been downgraded? Still, this was a huge victory for Zara Sinclair. Her journey hadn't been easy. Ethan Young had been an unexpected detour. "I'm tired," she murmured. "Carry me." Ethan Young adjusted his grip, a faint smile playing on his lips. Ethan carried Zara Sinclair home and gently placed her on the sofa. He knelt down, slipped off her high heels, and carefully examined her ankles for any scrapes. Feeling his gaze on her feet, Sarah felt a little self-conscious and curled her toes. "What are you looking at?" "Checking if your ankle is hurt." Just because she'd casually mentioned twisting her ankle, he was examining it so intently. "I'm not hurt, really. These shoes are actually comfortable. They didn't even give me blisters." Sarah was wearing slender 3-inch heels today, the kind that could easily lead to a twisted ankle if you weren't careful. "Good, as long as you're not hurt." As Ethan stood up, his eyes met Sarah's sparkling gaze. He'd managed to hide his feelings in the dim light of the parking garage downstairs, but now, under the bright living room lights, every subtle change in his expression was exposed. Ethan tried to summon the calm composure he used when acting, determined not to lose his cool. But facing Sarah's intense gaze, he couldn't settle his nerves, even moving awkwardly, almost tripping over his own feet as he headed for the kitchen. "I'll go make you some soup to help with the alcohol." Sarah watched Ethan bustling around, then quietly slipped up behind him and wrapped her arms around his waist. She clearly felt the muscles in his back tense up. She peeked around him, looking at the pot he was holding. "How did you know I'd been drinking?" The heat hadn't faded from Ethan's ears yet. Sarah spoke close to his ear, realization dawning. "Did you taste it on me?" "I smelled it." When they were kissing, it was all about the sensation. He hadn't been paying attention to whether her breath tasted like alcohol. "Ethan Young, you seem really nervous. You weren't even this tense when we got our marriage license." "How could that compare?" The soup cooked quickly. Ethan added some honey. "Drink this. It'll help prevent a headache tomorrow morning." Sarah obediently took the bowl. As she drank, Ethan watched, reminding her gently, "Careful, it's hot." After finishing the soup, Sarah leaned in and kissed Ethan on the cheek. "Thanks, boyfriend." Ethan couldn't quite meet her eyes. He took the empty bowl from her and went to wash it. After washing the bowl, he grabbed a paper towel, drying his hands as he walked back towards Sarah. Before she could react, he swept her up into his arms, lowered his head to find her lips, and kissed her gently. This kiss was even bolder than the one in the parking garage. He carried her while kissing her, his steps steady. In that moment, Sarah finally understood just how strong Ethan's core was. The light flashed across her eyes, making her squint at the ceiling. She wasn't sure where they were going. Though Ethan's arms held her securely, she instinctively tightened her grip around his neck, afraid of falling. After a moment, Ethan stopped walking. He stood at the door to Sarah's bedroom. "May I come in?" Even now, he was asking for permission. Sarah's mind filled with sensual possibilities. Will tonight be the night I get to experience Ethan's stamina? She wasn't hesitant. After all, she'd been anticipating this for a long time. When desire arose, it should be satisfied. Sarah was someone who believed in enjoying the moment. With Sarah's permission, Ethan opened the door. His gaze didn't wander around the room, but stayed focused on Sarah, who looked a little shy in his arms. He gently placed her on the bed and stroked her hair. "It's late. You should get some rest." Hearing he was leaving, Sarah immediately grabbed his shirt. "You're leaving now?" "Yeah. Good night." Sarah knew nothing more was going to happen tonight. She let go of his shirt, her voice soft. "Good night." Watching Ethan quickly turn and leave, Sarah threw herself onto the bed, burying her face in the duvet in frustration. She pulled their wedding photo out from under her pillow and glared fiercely at Ethan's picture. "You start a fire but won't put it out. Just wait, I'll do the same to you someday." Such a perfect opportunity, wasted. Sarah sighed in resignation. She stood up and unzipped her long green dress. The straps slipped from her shoulders, and the fabric cascaded down around her feet. Barefoot on the floor, her skin glowed like fine jade under the light. She pinned up her long hair, grabbed a nightgown, and headed into the bathroom. Ethan's heart was also racing, refusing to calm down. Back in the living room, he downed 2 large glasses of ice water. Despite the November chill, he held an ice cube in his mouth, trying to cool off. Although he and Sarah were officially together now, he felt there was still a long way to go. He needed to become a better man, someone worthy of her, someone who could truly stand by her side. Only then could he be sure she would be his forever. Seabreeze General Hospital. Serena Sinclair finally woke up after being unconscious for 7 hours. A nightmare had startled her awake. It wasn't exactly terrifying, just bizarre. She dreamed that Ethan Young was kissing another woman right in front of her. After the kiss, he even shot Serena a provocative look. She was furious and panicked, just as she was about to rush forward and pull them apart. She woke up. Awake now, Serena stared blankly at the ceiling of her room in Seabreeze General Hospital. There was a dull ache in her chest, and she pressed a hand against it. The moment she moved, Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair, who were sitting beside her bed, rushed over. "Serena, you're finally awake. Are you feeling uncomfortable anywhere? Does your head still hurt?" Serena hadn't really felt the pain until her parents mentioned it, but now her head instantly started to throb. She reached up to touch it. She hadn't realized before, but there was a large bump on her forehead. "Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair quickly stopped her. "Careful, don't touch it. Mind the wound." Serena's eyes widened as she looked down at her hands. All 10 of her slender fingers were wrapped in gauze. The sharp, connecting pain shot through her, instantly dragging her back into the memory of what happened. Serena couldn't control her emotions, her eyes turning red with fury. "Mom, it was Sarah? She did this to me. All these injuries." Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair hadn't initially considered Sarah, but hearing Serena's accusation and thinking about Sarah's wild streak, they realized it was entirely possible. After a moment of stunned silence, they spoke through gritted teeth. "How could she, your own sister, treat you like this? It's too cruel, hurting you so badly and leaving you alone in that storage room. What if someone dangerous had found you?" The more they thought about it, the more frightened they became. "Sarah ruined my birthday gala. She wants to ruin me. Mom, help me get revenge. Help me pay her back, please." Tears streamed down Serena's face, her expression full of grievance, her eyes burning with resentment. She wished she could tear Sarah limb from limb, paying her back 100 times over for the humiliation she had suffered. Seeing her crying so heartbrokenly, Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair comforted her, their hearts aching. "Don't worry, darling. We'll definitely make her pay. We'll have someone drag her here right now and make her kneel and apologize to you. No one will stop us this time." "That's not enough." Serena held up her bandaged hands, her voice choked with tears. "I want to destroy her hands too. She dared to break my nails, so I'll break all 10 of her fingers." Lucas Taylor was also at Seabreeze General Hospital. Given the close relationship between the Sinclair and Taylor families, and considering the major incident involving Serena Sinclair on the day of her birthday gala, it was only natural for him, as her boyfriend, to be at Seabreeze General Hospital keeping watch. Not being there would have seemed distant. However, Lucas found sitting idly in the hospital room boring, and constantly looking at his iPhone seemed inappropriate. So, he opted to sit in the hallway instead. He pulled out his iPhone to review his dashcam footage. After searching for a while, he finally found a frame where the license plate was barely visible. Lucas Taylor's expression darkened. He suspected the car belonged to Ethan Young. The distance had been too great at the time. He could only recognize Zara Sinclair. He could only guess who the driver was. Why did he immediately zero in on Ethan Young? Perhaps it was because of that jacket, something that had been bothering him ever since. People tend to compare themselves to others. Seeing someone excel in areas where he didn't inevitably sparked resentment and hostility in him, coupled with Alice Taylor repeatedly speaking well of Ethan Young, even arguing with Lucas in Ethan's defense, his dislike for Ethan intensified. Since this involved Zara Sinclair, Lucas didn't want to delegate the task to anyone else, fearing it might cause complications. Lucas Taylor found a way to look up the license plate number. Amidst a pile of information, he saw the name Ethan Young. Although he had already suspected Ethan Young, seeing the owner's information confirmed still stunned him. He stared intently at the name field, his breathing unsteady. It took him a while to compose himself. Then, he hired a private investigator, asking them to dig up personal information on Ethan Young. He paid a deposit up front, with the final payment due upon completion. By the time he finished all this, it was already 4 in the morning. Serena Sinclair woke up around the same time. Lucas, his expression still grim, didn't go in immediately but stood by the door, listening to the conversation inside. When he heard Serena telling Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair that she wanted revenge on Zara Sinclair, demanding she be brought to kneel and apologize, Lucas immediately pulled out his iPhone to warn Zara. However, the message failed to send. Staring at the ridiculous system notification beneath his text message, he belatedly remembered that Zara had blocked him face-to-face yesterday. This worsened his already unsettled mood. Her coldness towards him, contrasted with her willingness to casually get into another man's car. This differential treatment fueled an extreme resentment towards Zara within him. Why was she so unfair to him? Why so cold? He had known her first, after all. A sudden, twisted thought flashed through his mind. He thought that rather than watching a flower bloom, he preferred to watch it wither and fall. Lucas Taylor recalled a time in his childhood when he stayed in his family's old village. Unlike the city he was used to, the village had nothing. No fried chicken or burgers, no video games, no big supermarkets, and certainly no amusement parks. He didn't feel like going out to play and spend all day at home. Then, one day, a kid from the village walked past him, leading a dog. It was a German shepherd, looking particularly impressive. He really liked it and felt envious. His family never allowed him to have a dog, saying dog hair was too dirty, bred bacteria, and that while buying a dog was easy, raising one was hard. The more they forbade him from having a dog, the more he wanted one. How could he get a dog for free? An idea struck him. While the kid was at school, he bought some poison and secretly gave it to the dog. He administered it in the afternoon, and by evening, the dog reacted. He stood by the roadside, listening to the dog's whimpers and cries, finding the sounds strangely pleasing. The village didn't have a vet clinic. If a dog got sick, it was left to fate. As expected, the family abandoned the dog. Lucas Taylor took the dog home, but it died after 2 days. Although the time was brief, he had at least possessed it. He was satisfied and didn't consider the dog's death particularly regrettable. The same thing could happen now. If Zara Sinclair were brutally abused by her family, beaten half to death, and then he appeared as her savior, couldn't he possess her then too? Lucas Taylor closed his eyes, savoring the images conjured in his mind. Inside the hospital room, Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair were comforting Serena. There, don't cry now. Lucas Taylor is still here, you know, said Mrs. Sinclair. Lucas Taylor is here too. Serena looked around frantically, but didn't see him. Where is he? Deep down, she still cared about Lucas Taylor. Because she cared, she wanted to maintain a good image. He's outside. I'll go check, Mrs. Sinclair said. Just as she was about to step out, Lucas pushed the door open and walked in from the doorway. Serena, are you still in pain? Serena Sinclair asked. What are you doing here? With something this serious happening to you, of course, I had to stay by your side. I can only rest easy once I see you're okay. I ended up in Seabreeze General Hospital. What about the gala? Don't worry, your father is handling it. Mrs. Sinclair looked at her daughter with pity, unable to stop herself from complaining about Zara Sinclair again. Such a lovely party, ruined by her. She's been nothing but trouble since she was little, all because her grandmother, Arthur Sinclair's mother, spoiled her. This time, she must be punished. Lucas Taylor asked. Were Serena's injuries really inflicted by Zara Sinclair? Hearing this, Serena Sinclair stared at Lucas Taylor in disbelief. What are you implying? That she didn't hit me? Are you suggesting I hurt myself just to frame her? As she got agitated, the bump on her forehead started to throb. Serena clutched her head with one hand, letting out a muffled groan. Serena just woke up. Don't upset her. Mrs. Sinclair sided with her daughter, chiding Lucas Taylor slightly. Lucas, you're Serena's boyfriend. Don't you know her by now? She never lies. Besides, who would injure themselves so badly just to frame someone else? Look at her hand. You didn't see it. Her nail tore right through the skin. It must hurt terribly. And the bump on her forehead, the slap marks on her face. Lucas Taylor quickly interrupted. Mrs. Sinclair, that's not what I meant. I'm not saying Serena framed Zara. I just think we need evidence for everything. Weren't there security cameras at the venue? Let's pull the footage. That way, she won't be able to deny it. Zara Sinclair really went too far this time. She knew it was Serena's birthday gala, with so many people there. Slapping Serena is like slapping you and Mr. Sinclair in the face. She clearly has no respect for this family. If Zara refuses to apologize, we'll use the video to pressure her. Serena liked hearing that, though she wondered if the cameras had actually captured Zara hitting her. Mr. Sinclair heard Lucas's suggestion and agreed it made sense. I'll call right now and have him find the footage from the venue. Serena Sinclair said, I want to see it too. Mrs. Sinclair gently stroked her head. You're hurt so badly. Just rest for now. You too, Lucas. It's so late, and now that Serena's awake, you should head home. You can also tell your parents Serena's all right, so they don't worry. Pausing for a moment, Mrs. Sinclair added, Actually, maybe I should just send them a text message. After texting Lucas Taylor's mother, Mrs. Sinclair then opened Zara Sinclair's contact number. She tried calling her, but a system prompt indicated the phone was off. So, she composed a text message instead. Your sister is awake. Come here, admit you were wrong, and apologize. Don't leave until your sister forgives you. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair stood by the door, texting Zara. If possible, she didn't want to make things ugly. After all, if word got out, it would reflect poorly on the Sinclair family, and they'd be judged as parents. After sending the text, Mrs. Sinclair went back to Serena's side. Mom, who were you just calling? Zara. Did she not pick up? Her phone's off. Did she block you? Mrs. Sinclair's expression turned sour. Zara was definitely capable of something like that. How long had it been since Zara had called her first? She could hardly remember. They were supposed to be mother and daughter, closer than anyone, yet they were worse than strangers. Honestly, that girl, Mrs. Sinclair, felt a surge of irritation. At 6 in the morning, Ethan Young got up to make breakfast. Knowing Zara liked coffee, he prepared a latte and a sandwich for her. Zara appeared in the dining room wearing a sexy nightgown. Seeing Ethan, she first gave him a big hug, then planted a sweet kiss on his cheek. Boyfriend, what's for breakfast this morning? Sandwiches and coffee. Ethan had even made latte art on the phone. The profile of a woman, instantly recognizable. Zara held up the coffee with one hand and hooked the other around Ethan's neck, asking happily, Is this supposed to be me? Yeah, it's not very good. It's wonderful, and it looks just like me. Darling, what other surprises are you hiding? Ethan wrapped his arm around Zara's waist. Through the thin nightgown, he could clearly feel the warmth of her skin. His expression a little unnatural, he said, Let's eat first. They ate breakfast facing each other. It was an ordinary scene, but the atmosphere today felt distinctly different. Zara watched him as she ate, her fluttering eyelashes like tiny hooks. Halfway through the meal, Zara pulled out her iPhone and checked her unread messages. Seeing one from her mother, she immediately found a horror picture online and sent it back. Zara knew exactly what her mother was most afraid of. If her mom was going to bother her this early, she couldn't blame Zara for scaring her. Picturing her mother dropping her iPhone in shock, a small smile touched Zara's lips as she finished the last sip of her coffee. Ethan had an early call time for filming. While other actors stayed near the set, he commuted from home every day. Luckily, the location wasn't too far. He finished breakfast first and sat across from Zara, quietly watching her. They didn't need to talk or be intimate. Just looking at her like this made him feel a sense of peaceful contentment. Did you wake up with a headache? No. Zara looked at him with a playfully reproachful gaze. No headache, but I'm not exactly comfortable either. Her tone and expression were like someone accusing a heartless lover. Ethan wasn't immune to her teasing and actually thought she felt unwell. Where does it hurt? Should he go to Seabreeze General Hospital? I feel uncomfortable in the same way you felt uncomfortable last night. Worried you wouldn't catch her drift, Zara huffed playfully. Don't think I didn't notice you getting up to take a shower in the middle of the night and drinking cold water. The concern on Ethan's face faded, replaced by embarrassment. Zara didn't seem to know the meaning of the word restraint. Twirling a strand of her hair, she continued teasing. With self-control like yours, you could succeed at anything. Zara decided not to tease him endlessly. Seeing the time, she gathered the dishes from the table and took them to the kitchen. You should get going. Don't be late. Ethan checked the time. It really was getting late, but the dishes weren't washed. Leave them. I'll do them, Zara said. Things should stay the same as before. Just because we're dating doesn't mean you have to do everything. Ethan had to relent. Okay, I'm heading out then. What are you supposed to do before you leave for work? Supposed to do? Before Ethan could react, Zara rushed into his arms, stood on her tiptoes, and kissed him. Silly, you haven't initiated a kiss all morning. You'll make me feel like I'm not attractive. Looking at the woman acting cute and playful in his arms, Ethan's willpower was crumbling. He lowered his head, stroking Zara's face. It's not that you're not attractive. I'm afraid I won't be able to stop myself. Even after the night, Zara's lips were still very red, like ripe cherries. Then don't stop yourself. Then I won't make it to work. I'll be late. Ethan said this, then leaned down and kissed the corner of Zara's mouth. Zara, I really have to go now. Be careful on your way. Zara touched the corner of her mouth where he'd kissed her, smiling brightly. Ethan, can you call me big sister? Ethan put on his shoes and opened the door, his back to her. No, just as she expected. Men could be quite concerned about saving face, even over small things. The more he refused, the more she wanted to hear it. One day, she'd make Ethan Young call her big sister. When Ethan arrived on set, Alice Taylor rushed over the moment he stepped through the door. Ethan. Ethan noticed Alice's dark circles and pointed. Didn't you sleep well last night? Your eyes are so dark. Alice covered her eyes shyly. I had some trouble sleeping. She'd spent the whole night thinking about Ethan and couldn't sleep properly. Every time she closed her eyes, she pictured him with Zara Sinclair. They were two completely unrelated people. It was all Lucas Taylor's fault for insisting the driver of that car was Ethan. Alice lowered her hand and followed behind Ethan silently for a long moment before hesitantly asking, Ethan, did you happen to go to Laurel Heights last night? No. Oh, good. Alice breathed a sigh of relief, then smiled cheerfully at him, like usual. I just saw a car yesterday that looked a lot like yours. License plate starting with an 8, too. I thought it might have been you. Ethan remembered picking Zara up yesterday. The street had been empty. It wasn't until they drove off that he noticed a car following them. If Alice saw him last night, she must have been in that sports car. Back at Seabreeze General Hospital, Mrs. Sinclair was dozing in a chair. She opened her eyes when she heard Dr. Johnson making rounds. She instinctively reached for her iPhone to check the time, but saw a reply from Zara. She tapped on it, and her blood ran cold. She let out a terrified scream and dropped the iPhone. Hearing the commotion, Serena Sinclair immediately sat up. Doctors and nurses rushed over. Mom, what's wrong? Seeing the people gathered around her, Mrs. Sinclair covered her mouth with one hand, her face deathly pale, and pointed a trembling finger at the phone on the floor. The nearest nurse picked up the iPhone. It wasn't password protected, so the screen was visible. Seeing the horror image, the nurse also let out a small cry. Looking closely, it wasn't that scary, but having it suddenly pop up was quite startling. Who sent you this creepy picture? It's pretty shocking. Mrs. Sinclair slowly calmed down, though her voice still trembled slightly. Could you please delete that picture for me? Of course. After deleting it, the nurse handed the iPhone back. Mrs. Sinclair was still hesitant to take it. It's deleted now. It's gone. Mrs. Sinclair stiffly took the iPhone and stuffed it into her bag. Her heart was still pounding. She pressed a hand to her chest and sat back down in the chair, trying to catch her breath. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair were still shaken. The horrific picture seared into their minds. Mom, who sent that to you? Was it Zara Sinclair? Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair's silence was a tacit confirmation. Serena Sinclair gritted her teeth. She thought Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair might actually teach Zara Sinclair a lesson, but they turned out to be useless. Dr. Johnson examined Serena Sinclair. She only had some superficial injuries. Fainting the day before was largely due to her own nervous exhaustion and lack of rest. Between organizing her birthday gala, handling work issues, and being distracted by thoughts of Ethan Young, she hadn't rested properly for days. Fainting yesterday had been like falling into a deep sleep. If a nightmare hadn't startled her awake, she probably would have slept until noon. When Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair heard Serena Sinclair was awake, they found time to visit her. How are you? When can you leave the hospital? Seeing Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair. Serena Sinclair immediately started complaining. Dad, Zara Sinclair went too far. Hurting me like this was bad enough, but when Mom texted her to apologize, she sent Mom that horrific picture. She knows Mom is timid and afraid of ghosts, causing so much trouble in one day. Not only injuring someone, but also trashing his executive lounge. Infuriated Mr. Sinclair inwardly, though he didn't show it. His eyes, however, turned dark and somewhat frightening. You rest well here at Seabreeze General Hospital. I'll go find her at Sinclair Group headquarters later. Serena Sinclair had always been afraid of her father. Hearing his tone, she knew he was going to deal with Zara Sinclair. Dad, I don't have a concussion, but my head hurts badly, and I feel dizzy in my hand. She deliberately exaggerated her injuries, hoping her father's sympathy for her would fuel his anger towards Zara Sinclair. She was, after all, the daughter he had raised. When she was wronged, it was natural for her father to back her up. Tell the doctor if you're uncomfortable. Call the butler if you need anything brought over. Do you need a private nurse? Or should we have one of the household staff look after you? Asked Mrs. Ward to come. I'm not comfortable with strangers. Serena Sinclair glanced at Zachary Carter, standing behind Mr. Sinclair. Dad, where's the tablet I asked you to bring? I brought it. Zachary Carter has it. Give it to her. Playing on a tablet when her hands are hurt like this. I'm not playing. I need to check the surveillance video. Her tablet was connected to the house's security cameras. Mr. Sinclair immediately understood her intentions. He didn't stop her, but cautioned. Take it easy. It's improper for sisters to make such a scene. Serena Sinclair scoffed resentfully. She hit me first. If she refuses to admit she was wrong, I'll use the video of her attacking me to threaten her. I'll charge her with intentional assault and get her locked up. Mrs. Sinclair chimed in. Yes, dear. Zara Sinclair was spoiled rotten by Grandma Wood. She has no respect for her parents now, daring to attack Serena at such a big event yesterday. When I asked her to apologize, she sent me that horrifying picture to scare me. She clearly doesn't respect me at all. All right, Mr. Sinclair said, a small punishment to teach her a lesson. As long as she admits she's wrong, that's fine. Letting this get out wouldn't be good for the Sinclair family either. Mr. Sinclair knew how to weigh the pros and cons. Besides, he knew Serena's personality. Would Zara have attacked her without reason if Serena hadn't provoked her first? With so much going on daily, Mr. Sinclair had his own matters to attend to. He left after staying in the hospital room for 15 minutes. Serena Sinclair took the tablet. All 10 of her fingertips were injured, making movement difficult. She had to use her knuckles to operate the screen. She pulled up the videos from last night. Mom, you must be exhausted after last night. You should go home. I'll be fine alone. But your hands. Mrs. Ward will be here. It's all right. Mrs. Sinclair was still uneasy leaving Serena alone, but she couldn't be much help staying there. She repeatedly instructed Zachary Carter and Mrs. Ward to take good care of Serena. Lying in bed, Serena Sinclair asked Zachary Carter to find the camera covering the hallway near the restroom and gave him an approximate time. Playing the footage back at double speed, after a short while, she and Zara Sinclair appeared on screen. Unfortunately, there was no camera inside the storage room, so it didn't capture Zara hitting her, only Zara grabbing her hair and dragging her inside. But this was enough to condemn Zara Sinclair. Release the video. Find a writer to craft an article about how Zara Sinclair, driven by jealousy, maliciously harmed her sister, vicious and devious since childhood. It's easy to spread rumors, hard to refute them. With the video, she could stand on the moral high ground, accuse Zara Sinclair, and seal her guilt. Zara Sinclair had just taken over Sinclair Foods, Inc. This kind of negative publicity, trending online, would surely accelerate its collapse. Serena Sinclair saved the video clip, deciding to give it to professionals for some editing. After saving the clip, Serena had nothing better to do, so she started casually watching other videos from that day. She hadn't expected to see anything, but then she spotted Lucas Taylor and Zara Sinclair standing together in an inconspicuous corner. Serena's heart tightened, and she felt prickly all over, her mind filled with a dense, irritating anxiety. She zoomed in on the video. Due to the poor lighting, the image wasn't very clear, and she couldn't hear what they were saying. She had to rely on her imagination, which inevitably magnified her initial suspicions, seemingly confirming Zara's guilt. What were they doing? What were they talking about? Suddenly, in the video, Lucas Taylor moved sharply closer to Zara Sinclair. He reached out his hand, apparently holding something. Serena hit pause. She asked Zachary Carter beside her, "Can you make this picture clearer?" Zachary Carter looked. Weren't those Lucas Taylor and Zara Sinclair? Could Miss Sinclair suspect something between them? I'll try. Zachary Carter opened his laptop and imported the video file. Serena waited quietly, the sound of his typing grating on her nerves, making the pain in her fingertips feel worse, leaving her irritable and upset. If only Ethan Young were here, she thought. He was the best at taking care of people. After what felt like a long time, Zachary Carter brought the laptop over. Miss Sinclair, I've enhanced the image as much as I can. Take a look. Serena glanced at it. Can it be any clearer? Zachary Carter shook his head. This is the limit of my skills. Useless, Serena muttered inwardly, then told Zachary Carter to zoom in on the object in Lucas Taylor's hand. What is that? Zachary Carter peered at it too. Looks like jewelry of some kind. It has the sparkle of diamonds. Zoomed in to the maximum. The object in Lucas Taylor's hand was faint, but she could vaguely make out something snake-shaped. In that instant, Serena remembered Alice Taylor mentioning a necklace last night. Lucas Taylor had bought a necklace. He hadn't given it to her at the birthday gala yesterday. Instead, he had secretly given it to Zara Sinclair. Zachary Carter watched Serena's face darken, growing increasingly pale. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, he tried to reassure her. It's just a blurry video, and you can't even hear the conversation. It doesn't prove anything. Didn't prove anything? But thinking back now on Lucas Taylor's strange behavior since returning to the country, she realized there had been signs all along. Some people are just like that. They assume everyone else is just like them. She could allow herself to find comfort with another man, but couldn't tolerate the idea of her own boyfriend being unfaithful. Because of that blurry video, a crack had formed in Serena Sinclair's perception of Lucas Taylor. All the things she'd previously ignored rushed through that crack like floodwaters, washing away every good memory she had of him. Serena Sinclair seethed inwardly. At first, only her hand hurt, but now her head was starting to ache too. Supporting her head, Serena Sinclair slowly lay back down and asked her assistant to put the laptop and tablet aside. She didn't want to look anymore. She didn't want to accuse Lucas Taylor without reason. She needed proof for everything. But if he really had fallen for Zara Sinclair, she thought she might go crazy. She couldn't help but think, why her? Zara Sinclair already had so much. How could she just show up and steal her childhood sweetheart? Seeing Serena Sinclair close her eyes, the assistant and Mrs. Ward in the hospital room thought she'd fallen asleep. Neither dared to breathe too loudly, sitting quietly nearby, lost in thought. Suddenly, someone's iPhone rang, the sound piercingly loud in the quiet room. Serena Sinclair, already agitated, felt an urge to throw something. She hadn't even started investigating, and she felt like she was losing her mind. Who is it? Mrs. Ward jumped, located the source of the noise, and picked up the iPhone. Miss, it's yours. Serena Sinclair suppressed her anger, though her expression remained dark. She took the iPhone, glanced at the caller ID, her face shifting slightly before she answered. Miss Sinclair, Mr. Lucas Taylor placed an order with me last night. He wants me to investigate Ethan Young. Serena Sinclair's expression changed. Why would Lucas Taylor suddenly decide to investigate Ethan Young? Could he know something? Not many people knew she was financially supporting Ethan Young. Serena Sinclair pretended not to care, but she was actually terrified Lucas Taylor would find out. That's why she'd previously bribed the local private investigators, making a secret deal. If Lucas Taylor ever hired them to look into Ethan Young, they had to inform her immediately. It was just supposed to be a precaution, but she never thought it would actually happen. When both sides are at fault, the only thing to do is find a way to shift the blame and point fingers. Serena Sinclair certainly didn't want Lucas Taylor catching her in the wrong. She spoke into the iPhone. I'll pay you extra. Just show him superficial stuff. And keep your mouth shut. Don't you dare reveal a single word you shouldn't. Also, starting now for the near future, your job is exclusively to tail Lucas Taylor for me. Where he goes, who he meets, anything that happens around him. I need to know every single detail. Got it. Who wouldn't want to earn extra money? The person on the other end agreed immediately. Shortly after hanging up, Serena Sinclair's left eyelid twitched. She touched it, feeling a wave of unease. In the office, Zara Sinclair was reviewing recent test reports when her secretary came in after taking a call. Ms. Sinclair, Arthur Sinclair is here. Oh, Zara Sinclair didn't pause, adjusting the glasses on her face before refocusing on the documents in her hand. After a moment, she took a sip of her latte. He's already upstairs? Should be. Security? Get a few more up here. Zara Sinclair never went into battle unprepared. She'd anticipated Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair would come looking for her. That's why she had security posted upstairs and downstairs, with the PR department and lawyers ready next door, If anything got damaged, they could demand compensation on the spot. Hearing footsteps outside, Zara Sinclair put down her papers and calmly lifted her latte for another sip. The door was open, and Mr. Sinclair's imposing figure appeared in the doorway. He strode in, his face radiating an intimidating authority. An ordinary person might have been frightened, but Zara Sinclair had encountered far more intimidating people during her time abroad. Mr. Sinclair had come to stand up for Serena Sinclair, but he found himself getting angry first. When she saw him, Zara Sinclair merely shot him a lazy glance without getting up, swiveling slightly in her chair to face him. What wind blew you all the way here? Don't tell me it's about Serena Sinclair. What, you want to stick up for her too? Zara Sinclair, where are your manners? You don't even call me dad when you see me. Look at this indifferent attitude. Do you really think you've done nothing wrong? Was yesterday the time and place for your antics? You not only trashed my executive lounge, but you also beat up your sister. What on earth has made you so arrogant and unruly? You're practically... Mr. Sinclair glared at her, spitting out each word, lawless. Zara Sinclair's expression was impassive. Manners are reserved for those who have them. Do you? You, Mr. Sinclair, furious, looked ready to strike Zara Sinclair, but then he saw the office doorway, crowded with security guards. He instantly understood she'd been waiting for him. Zara Sinclair, I told you to go apologize to your sister. Will you do it or not? Zara Sinclair twirled the pen in her hand. No, Mr. Sinclair's face was grim for a long moment before he let out a short laugh. Fine. If I can't discipline you, then let the law handle it. Zara Sinclair put down her pen. Wait. Mr. Sinclair thought she was scared, but instead, Zara Sinclair reached for her computer and played an audio recording. Listen to this first. Cameras might not capture things clearly, but audio recorders certainly can. What Zara Sinclair played was exactly what Serena Sinclair had said the previous night when she tried to frame her. The audio quality was so clear you could practically picture the ugly, gloating expression on Serena's face just from her voice. Sister, wasn't it nice abroad? Why did you have to come back and be such an eyesore? I hear it's dangerous overseas, lots of shootings. Why didn't you just die there? There's no one else here. Tell me, if I went out right now and said you bullied me, what would mom and dad think of you? What would everyone else think? The office was silent as the recording played, every word reaching everyone's ears with perfect clarity. Mr. Sinclair's eyes widened in disbelief. The others present didn't dare react, afraid of offending someone, so they just lowered their heads and pretended not to hear. Who would have thought the seemingly gentle and cheerful second Miss Sinclair had such a side to her? So manipulative, so two-faced. Seeing Mr. Sinclair hadn't reacted, Zara Sinclair hit play again. Didn't catch that? I'll play it again. There's no one else here. Tell me, if I went out right now and said you bullied me. Mr. Sinclair interrupted angrily. Enough. The hallway security cameras only show me taking Serena Sinclair into the utility closet. But who knows what happened inside the closet? You say I hit her? Where's the proof? This recording could even prove she hit herself. Mr. Sinclair strode up to the large desk, pointing a finger straight at her, furious. You're talking utter nonsense. Looking at Mr. Sinclair's enraged face, Zara Sinclair pushed herself up slowly from her desk. How many times has Serena Sinclair spewed nonsense in front of you? And did you ever stop her? You say I have no manners? Who's the one who's truly ill-mannered here? Do me a favor and go back and warn her. Stop putting on an act in front of me. If there's a next time, I'll break her fingers. If you dare call the police, I'm ready for that too. Worst case, I'll just post the audio online, let the netizens hear it. Let them judge. Mr. Sinclair, losing control for once, pointed at Zara Sinclair, his hand trembling. You? This time, he finally understood how Mrs. Sinclair must have felt like a fire burning in his head with nowhere to go. Think this is over? Zara Sinclair's face was cold as she tossed the documents from the table in front of Mr. Sinclair. Don't point your finger at me just yet. Take a good look at this. Zara tapped the table twice. Thump, thump. The sound was like nails driving into his heart. Mr. Sinclair lowered his hand, looking at the documents before him with a growing sense of unease. He picked them up, his expression darkening the more he read. What are you planning to do? Send them to prison, of course. When Zara Sinclair first took over Sinclair Foods, Inc., she visited the processing plant. It was spotlessly clean, workers in uniform, strict hygiene protocols. Impeccable. But the samples she tasted at the factory were completely different from what she later bought in the supermarket. So, she arranged for her own people to investigate. Sure enough, they uncovered moles, and these moles were all relatives of Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair. Not only had they sold the formula to a rival company years ago, but they had also switched the long-term raw material suppliers, taking kickbacks in the process. The reason supermarkets stopped stocking their products was because these relatives had offended the owners. This was much easier than catching cockroaches. Grab the ringleader, and the whole network comes tumbling out. Mr. Sinclair put down the documents. Are you suspecting your mother deliberately planted these people? Zara looked at him, her eyes icy. The facts are right here. Don't need to suspect. Mr. Sinclair shook his head, saying stubbornly, she wouldn't do something like this. Zara scoffed. Don't be so sure. She'd do anything for Serena Sinclair. It wasn't that Mrs. Sinclair lacked maternal love. She just gave it all to Serena Sinclair, unwilling to spare even a drop for Zara. Zara sneered. Sinclair Foods Inc.'s profits have been declining in recent years. If you'd intervened sooner, it could have been saved. But you and she let it slide, clearly because you didn't think it was important. In this performance-based contract between me and Serena Sinclair, you both favored her from the start. To ensure I lost, you arranged for people to infiltrate Sinclair Foods Inc. beforehand, replace workers, cut corners, use substandard materials, sell the formula to a competitor, and leak information about product quality issues. As she spoke, Zara's gaze turned cold and sharp. There was no affection left, neither mother-daughter nor father-daughter. She was never wanted right from birth. Mrs. Sinclair treated her like an obligation, while Mr. Sinclair saw her as a burden. Why didn't her parents like her? Probably because they had psychological issues, Zara concluded. Mr. Sinclair held deep resentment towards Arthur Sinclair, believing his father had been too strict and never gave him freedom. Mrs. Sinclair disliked the old matriarch, believed things she read online, exaggerated conflicts between them, and felt disrespected. Zara had been raised by her grandparents and carried traces of them. The couple transferred their own conflicts onto her, growing to dislike her more and more. Arthur Sinclair's will clearly stated fair competition. I'm responsible for Sinclair Foods Inc. Serena handles the film division. Whoever performs better gets 40% of the shares. Our performance-based contract states it clearly too. But now, you tell me, where's the fairness? Zara was no longer the child who hid in her room, crying softly when treated differently. Since they couldn't treat her fairly, she would fight for her own rights. Mr. Sinclair knew Zara was decisive. One look told him what she intended to do. Are you really calling the police? This will implicate your mother. Zara shrugged nonchalantly. Sorry, I already called them. They probably already received their shiny new handcuffs and are enjoying a scenic ride in a police car by now. Mr. Sinclair was stunned, but being a seasoned-old fox, he quickly recovered. She's still your mother. So what? Zara's tone was harsh, her expression merciless. Save any problems for the police. Ms. Lou, show him out. Mr. Sinclair was furious. He hadn't expected to lose ground to Zara like this. He wanted to use his paternal authority to pressure her, but Zara wasn't afraid. All the necessary agreements and contracts had already been signed. Zara Sinclair, must you make things so ugly? Disturbing the peace of the whole family. Mr. Sinclair grew angrier the more he thought. Losing control, he almost raised his hand to strike Zara, but security guards and bodyguards immediately intercepted him. Zara raised an eyebrow as if puzzled. Chairman Sinclair, who's really making things ugly? Why don't you go look in a mirror? If you don't have one, you can at least take a piss and look in that, right? Oh, I forgot. You ruined your kidneys years ago. Your yellow piss probably isn't clear enough to see anything. At this, everyone except the furious Mr. Sinclair struggled to hold back laughter. Mr. Sinclair's face turned crimson with rage. Unable to hit her, he started throwing things, sweeping the documents off the table onto the floor to assert his authority as Chairman Sinclair. Zara felt no fear. Mr. Sinclair's impotent rage reminded her vividly of the monkeys scrambling frantically up and down Mount May. Zara Sinclair, you act with such disregard for family ties. You'll regret this someday. After spitting out the threat, Mr. Sinclair left. If he stayed any longer, he feared he might faint from anger right there. The secretary knelt to pick up the scattered documents. The security guards gradually departed. Zara stood before the floor-to-ceiling window in her office, looking down at the crowd moving like ants below. After a moment, she took out her iPhone and called Ethan Young. As soon as the call connected, Zara's previously sullen face instantly brightened. Boyfriend, have you eaten? I have. Ethan Young's voice held a smile, like a spring breeze gently smoothing the agitation in her heart, bringing a sense of pleasure. What did you have? Takeout. Have you eaten yet? Not yet. I was just about to, but but I don't know what to eat. Can you give me a suggestion? Just no, I don't want to walk too far. Zara couldn't help but sound a little coquettish. Let me check. Zara waited quietly, unconsciously tracing Ethan Young on the glass window with her fingertip. After a moment, Ethan said, "There's a Fujian cuisine place nearby that's pretty good. It's a 15-minute walk, no reservation needed." "Okay, Fujian cuisine, it is for lunch then. I'll hang up now." Ethan suddenly stopped her. "Gigi, are you in a bad mood right now?" Zara paused, a sour feeling welling up inside her. "Why do you say that?" Ethan said, "I feel like your tone is a little different from usual today. Is it obvious?" Masking her emotions had been Zara's specialty since childhood. How could Ethan have noticed? Not very. "So, are you unhappy right now?" "I was a little unhappy earlier, but I'm very happy now." "Can you tell me why you were unhappy?" "I met someone annoying, but I already kicked him out." "The trouble's dealt with," Zara said with a smile. She didn't want to burden him with things she could handle herself. "That's good. You can tell me if something's bothering you. Talking about it helps lighten the load. We're a couple, partners. We can figure things out together." "I know. Okay, I'm hanging up to go eat now." Zara reluctantly ended the call, touching the spot over her heart. That tangy ache was still there, but thankfully it wasn't unpleasant, more like a strange, bittersweet sensation. After hanging up, Zara Sinclair's previous coldness vanished. She lit up, a smile playing on her lips, her cheeks flushed pink, and her eyes sparkled like shimmering sweet wine. Ms. Lou watched her secretly. From a moment she saw Zara Sinclair that morning, she'd felt something was different. The woman was absolutely radiant. Zara was known for being a powerhouse workaholic. As the boss, she worked harder than anyone, diving into work the second she entered the office, often getting so busy she'd forget to eat or leave, needing Ms. Lou to remind her. But lately, Zara had started leaving early, even goofing off on her iPhone and following fashion bloggers. This morning was even stranger. Ms. Lou had caught her touching her lips and staring into space several times. "Ms. Sinclair, are you planning to go out for lunch now?" "In a bit, no rush." Zara sat down, opened the camera app on her iPhone to look at her mouth, and suddenly asked, "Ms. Lou, do you have a boyfriend?" Ms. Lou's heart skipped a beat. Why was the boss suddenly interested in her private life? Could she be planning to set her up? Come to think of it, she was about the same age as her boss, almost 30. It really was time she found a boyfriend. Ms. Lou shook her head. "No, I don't." Zara chuckled, then opened a photo of a marriage certificate on her iPhone. "Look, this is my boyfriend." Ms. Lou leaned in curiously. "Your boyfriend is really handsome. But this photo, why does it look like a marriage certificate?" Zara admitted freely, "Yes, he's also my legally married husband." Ms. Lou. She hadn't eaten all morning, but suddenly she felt full. She thought they were both destined to be lonely singles, but Ms. Sinclair had gone and gotten married without a word. No wonder she was glowing. She was clearly basking in the glow of love. Now she understood why Zara had suddenly asked about her private life. She was showing off. Ms. Lou said enviously, "Ms. Sinclair, I really thought you were going to set me up with someone." Zara put down her iPhone. "It's more interesting to find a boyfriend yourself. How about this? I'll give you a few extra days off for your annual leave. Get out more. Maybe you'll meet someone. An unexpected bonus." Ms. Lou quickly said, "Thank you, boss. Wishing you and your husband a long and happy life together." Hearing this, Zara couldn't help but smile. She took a gentle sip of her latte and mused, "I used to be firmly against marriage, thought it was just a huge hassle. But now I find having a caring, thoughtful, and reliable man at home is actually quite nice." After going downstairs, Mr. Sinclair called his wife, but no one answered. He then called Serena Sinclair at Seabreeze General Hospital. As soon as the call connected, he asked directly, "Where's your mother?" "I told her to go home and rest." Serena could tell from his tone that something was wrong. "Dad, what happened? Didn't you go see Zara Sinclair?" "How'd it go?" "How'd it go?" "It went terribly." Mr. Sinclair didn't want to tell Serena the truth. First, it wouldn't solve anything, and second, he felt utterly humiliated. He felt a lump in his throat, like suffocating cement, stuck fast. "Don't mention her." Those words sounded familiar. Mr. Sinclair had said something similar before. Serena paused, a bad feeling suddenly washing over her. "Why can't we talk about her?" "Dad, didn't you go to stand up for me?" "Stand up for you?" "I'm furious right now." "Serena Sinclair, you've been nothing but trouble since you were little. Only your mother would ever call you sensible and obedient." "Dad, why are you lecturing me? You should be lecturing the person who deserves it. As your father, can't I even criticize you?" Mr. Sinclair was furious now, ready to lash out at anyone, especially Serena. Ultimately, she had caused all this trouble. You deserve to get hit. You ran your mouth. If you hadn't provoked Zara Sinclair, would she have hit you? Getting hit should teach you a lesson. Remember to stay away from Zara Sinclair in the future. You good-for-nothing troublemaker. You only ever mess things up. I've never seen you win against her even once. Dad, Serena tried to ask something else, but Mr. Sinclair hung up abruptly. Mr. Sinclair stood on the street, about to call his wife again, but before he could dial, a call came from the Seabreeze police station. Zara Sinclair hadn't been bluffing. When she said she'd call the police, she meant it, holding nothing back. In her eyes, so-called motherly or fatherly affection meant less than dirt. Mr. Sinclair gritted his teeth and answered. He learned that Mrs. Sinclair had been taken in by the police. He listened calmly, hung up, and immediately started looking for a lawyer, trying to suppress the news, and then rushed to the Seabreeze police station. In Seabreeze General Hospital, Serena Sinclair lay in her bed as if bound, unable to move. Having been inexplicably yelled at, her eyes reddened with grievance. She stared blankly at her iPhone, unable to understand how things had turned out this way. Her dad had seemed fine when he left the hospital. Her mom had promised her that Zara Sinclair would pay. But why in the end? Was she the one at fault? Why? She was the one who got hurt, had her nails broken, been slapped, suffered so much humiliation. Why did Zara Sinclair get away with everything? Even if she provoked her first, words and actions were completely different. Physical assault was intentional injury. Serious cases could lead to jail time. Her head throbbed, panic set in, and she couldn't stop her mind from racing with anxious thoughts. Serena didn't know Mr. Sinclair's attitude had changed because he'd heard the recording. She just thought he was playing favorites. She thought, asterisk, since no one will give me justice, I'll take matters into my own hands. Asterisk. Holding her tablet, Serena started searching for online gossip accounts and people known for writing compelling, dramatic posts. When the time was right, she'd publish her story online by trending spots and maybe even use the opportunity to promote her new movie. Ethan Young had lied to Zara Sinclair. He hadn't eaten at all. He needed to lose weight drastically for his upcoming scenes. Daily filming was already demanding. From now on, he would just skip meals and rely on nutritional supplements for energy. Then he'd pull a few all-nighters to make himself look worn out and haggard, fitting the character better. Creating a good piece of work required sacrifice when necessary. While others were eating takeout, Ethan sat to the side, drinking a glucose electrolyte solution. Alice Taylor couldn't stand watching him and brought 3 eggs over. Ethan, just eat something. Dieting like this isn't healthy. You'll ruin your body. Ethan refused her kind offer. I'm not hungry. He'd endured tougher things before. Alice frowned and scolded him. Why are you being so intense about this? If it's too much, just use a body double. Look at you, all those muscles you worked so hard for, gone just like that from starving yourself. Don't you feel bad about it? Actors need to be flexible. Why push yourself so hard? If the director asked you to play a cripple, would you actually go break your leg? That may be true, but why wouldn't I do it if I can? Ethan's voice had an understated calm. I get paid, so I should do what's required. An actor's duty is to present the best possible performance to the audience within their capabilities. We can't let people waste their money. We can't cheat the audience. Just losing some weight and going hungry for a few days isn't that hard. If you want to be in this profession, you need to be able to handle its demands. I can't argue with you, Alice said, resentfully taking back the eggs. Anyway, just take care of yourself first. Don't get sick and delay the entire crew's schedule. Though meant as words of concern, they sounded awkward coming from her. So far, Ethan Young was the best actor Alice Taylor had ever worked with. Acting relied on talent, and not only was he talented, he was incredibly hardworking. Alice couldn't keep up even if she tried. People could be a little perverse sometimes. Knowing Ethan was trying to lose weight, Alice deliberately sat in front of him with takeout, smacking her lips as she ate. This takeout today is amazing, she praised between bites. Look at this chicken, so tender and juicy. And these little mushrooms, so smooth and delicate. Oh, and this egg, wow, a double yolk, big and round. And this broccoli. Ugh, never mind, not good. A little fruit after the meal, perfect. Ethan's expression was hard to read. Just eat your food. Why are you talking so much? None of your business. Alice peeled a shrimp. Since you can't eat, I'll eat for you. I'll describe every single flavor in detail. Isn't that making your mouth water? No, it was a lie to say he wasn't hungry, but Ethan could endure it. He twisted open another bottle of water and took a couple of gulps. Alice found herself staring at his bobbing Adam's apple and suddenly felt a strange urge. She bit into her egg and declared confidently, "Someone like me would definitely be a hit as a food streamer, right?" Ethan put down his water. "You're overthinking it. You don't have the talent for that." Ethan hadn't eaten since yesterday, and Alice felt like he'd already slimmed down. He didn't seem to notice, but she felt a pang of sympathy. She remembered a scene they'd filmed not long ago. Ethan, wearing cat ears and shirtless, doing crunches. His muscle definition was perfect. He looked lean in real life, but just right on camera, every muscle radiating sensuality. Ethan had been breathing hard, beads of sweat clinging to the tips of his hair, trickling down his neck. Alice had been standing very close, clearly watching one drop trace an unimpeded path down to his abdomen, finally disappearing into his V-line. You could hear people swallowing hard on set. Alice's head had been spinning. At that moment, she had only one thought, to pull out a tissue and help him wipe off the sweat, maybe grab a shirt to cover him up. Alice considered herself relatively reserved. She knew how to separate reality from acting and wouldn't let the emotions from a scene affect her personal life. Yet, the night after filming that scene, Alice had a very bold dream. She dreamt Ethan was doing push-ups in front of her, just like in the scene, panting hotly, large drops of sweat falling, landing right over her heart, making her itch unbearably. Just as she, shy and flustered, reached out to touch his face, she woke up. Waking up, she felt a sense of loss and disappointment. It took her a moment to realize what she had dreamt. Embarrassed, she threw off the covers and sat cross-legged. Her body felt hot, a layer of sweat on her back. She silently chanted, "Form is emptiness. A calm heart brings natural coolness. Inhale, exhale, center the mind." Her body cooled down, but her heart still felt warm. It was the middle of winter, dry and crisp, easy to get worked up. It had to be the weather, definitely not something wrong with her. Alice tried hard to convince herself, but every day, filming with Ethan, she couldn't help but recall the dream. Whenever she thought about it, her throat felt dry and itchy. Watching Ethan drink water with his cool expression, Alice desperately wanted to see that flustered side of him, just like when they were acting. The male lead Ethan played was a deeply affectionate character. Whenever his girlfriend was near, he'd watch her constantly. He couldn't handle teasing and would often blush beet red when his girlfriend teased him. He'd jump around excitedly when she agreed to marry him and be utterly devastated upon learning of her death. Her own emotions were often swayed by his performance. She'd laugh and cry along with him. Alice couldn't help but wonder, what was Ethan Young like in a real relationship? Would he stare at the person he liked so intently? He seemed so serious and rigid. Who could possibly stir his emotions and make him lose his composure? Alice stared at Ethan's profile, lost in thought, chewing the same mouthful of rice for what felt like half an hour. "Why are you looking at me?" Ethan was highly perceptive of others' emotions. He could sense Alice's feelings for him to some extent, but didn't pay them much mind. It was common in acting. Actors could get too immersed in their roles and carry those feelings over into reality. It wasn't real emotion, just an illusion. Usually, it faded after a month away from filming. Still dazed, Alice subconsciously replied, "Nothing, I was just wondering when you're filming the shower scene." As soon as the words left her mouth, she snapped back to reality. Completely flustered, terrified Ethan would mistake her for some kind of pervert. "No, I'm not looking forward to it, or I wanted to see it. I was just curious." "Well, not curious, it's just that scene is quite important." Maybe it wasn't that important. The more she explained, the messier it got. Better to just shut up. Alice stuffed a chicken leg into her mouth. After a few seconds of silence, she stood up nonchalantly. "The weather's really nice today." Ethan looked up at the hazy sky, which looked like it might rain. He wondered if Serena Sinclair had brought an umbrella. Alice suddenly asked, "Ethan, have you ever been in a relationship?" Ethan paused, his gaze shifting slightly as Serena Sinclair's image flickered in his mind. He nodded, "Yes." Hearing Ethan confirm he'd had a girlfriend, Alice felt a sudden wave of disappointment. But thinking about it, with Ethan's looks, he must have been popular in school, and he had a good personality. It would be strange if he hadn't dated anyone. What was she like? She was great. After careful consideration, Ethan emphasized again, really great. Alice automatically translated girlfriend to ex-girlfriend. Ethan was still young, his career on the rise. With his potential, he was bound to become a huge star after the movie's release. Having a girlfriend now would be a major drawback. Ethan could leverage his popularity for more money, but for idols, dating was practically career suicide, risking fan loyalty and affecting future promotions. What do you like when you're in a relationship, Ethan? Like the character you play in a movie? Why are you suddenly curious about this? Ethan didn't want to discuss things unrelated to work with her. Alice looked a bit uncomfortable. It's just, you usually have such a stern, keep your distance vibe. I got curious about what kind of woman could actually win you over. Even though she was the one asking, she felt inexplicably upset, a sour knot forming in her stomach. She wanted to hear about Ethan's past, but was also afraid of what she might hear. But Ethan didn't seem inclined to share. He stood up, brushing dust off his pants. Time to get back to work. Less gossip, more focus on the script and your acting. Alice trailed behind him, muttering under her breath. No gossip during work hours. So, can we gossip after work? Seeing Ethan ignore her, she added, Ethan, my family's making lobster and king crab tonight. Do you want some? I can bring it for you. Seafood won't make you gain weight. Alice buzzed around him like a little bee. Ethan, patient, was about to decline her offer when a voice came from behind. Ethan Young, so this is where you're filming. Ethan Young turned around to see the woman who'd spoken walking gracefully toward him. Fiona. Alice Taylor ran towards her, looking surprised. Fiona, what are you doing here? I haven't seen you in ages. Fiona Fitzgerald smiled. I just got back from a business trip. I missed your brother's birthday gala. You didn't just miss my brother's gala. You missed Serena's birthday yesterday, too. You two are supposed to be best friends. It's not that I didn't want to come back. I just couldn't make it in time. My flight only landed today. By the way, how are Serena and Lucas Taylor doing? Are they still attached at the hip? When she mentioned Serena Sinclair, Fiona deliberately glanced at Ethan Young, curious about his reaction. However, Ethan walked away without looking back, treating her like a stranger. How could he act like that? Fiona thought. Asterisk, they'd known each other for years, after all. Even if they didn't talk much, she still wished him well. Asterisk, Alice Taylor, oblivious as ever, didn't notice anything odd. My brother and Serena are, well, you know how they are. I try not to pay too much attention. Too much PDA makes me nauseous. My brother's probably still at Seabreeze General Hospital with Serena right now. Fiona hadn't been there when Serena Sinclair was attacked and hospitalized, but she'd heard about it. It was a small circle, after all. Sophia Sullivan had told her what happened. Apparently, it was brutal. Serena's face was swollen, and her fingernails had been broken off. Fiona glanced down at her own expensive manicure, her fingers suddenly aching sympathetically. Is Serena okay now? How bad was it? How could someone just get knocked out and thrown in a supply closet like that? Who attacked her? Fiona fired off several questions. Alice Taylor shook her head. I don't know. I'll ask later. Are you going to visit Serena later? Maybe. I'll see, Fiona said casually. Seeing Ethan Young getting further away, she called out, Ethan Young. Ignoring Alice Taylor's strange look, Fiona jogged over to Ethan Young. Ethan Young, still acting? I thought you wouldn't be able to find work. Only the two of them understood the underlying meaning. Serena Sinclair had considerable influence in the Maplewood film industry and had recently put the word out, strictly forbidding directors from hiring him. Fiona had expected Ethan to be cornered with no options left, but here he was, quietly shooting a movie. He'd never gotten resources like this during his 5-year contract with Serena. She wondered how he'd managed to convince the two directors. Fiona stared at Ethan Young's face as she spoke. Away from Serena Sinclair, not only did Ethan seem more vibrant, but he'd also gotten handsomer. She hadn't seen him in only a month, but the change was significant. He was becoming more and more attractive. She never thought Ethan looked like Lucas Taylor. Rather, Lucas was only maybe half as handsome as Ethan. Serena had mistaken a pearl for a fisheye, forcing Ethan to play the unattractive substitute for 5 years. What a terrible waste. Noticing Fiona's odd gaze, Alice Taylor finally, belatedly, realized that Fiona knew Ethan Young. How did these two, who seemed to have absolutely no connection, know each other? Alice Taylor looked from Ethan Young to Fiona, then walked over to stand beside Ethan. Fiona, you know Ethan Young? Fiona was the same age as Serena Sinclair, about 3 years older than Alice. While the age gap wasn't huge, Fiona was much more worldly. She looked at Alice like she was looking at a naive little girl, dismissing her completely. Seeing the flicker of defensiveness in Alice's eyes only made Fiona find the situation more amusing. Even Alice Taylor has her eye on him now, Fiona thought. Asterisk, Ethan's even more captivating than I realized. No wonder Serena tried to hide him away. Asterisk. Yes, we know each other. We've even had dinner together. Fiona answered Alice, but her eyes were fixed on Ethan. Twirling the end of her hair, she smiled. Ethan Young, I've always thought you had potential. Can I get your contact info? We could be friends. I can connect you with more resources. By the way, what's this movie you're filming? Do you need funding? Maybe I can invest. Alice Taylor's stomach tightened, her gaze toward Fiona becoming subtly wary. Knowing someone like Fiona Fitzgerald could be a great opportunity for Ethan, but Alice didn't want them exchanging contact information. No, thank you, Ethan said flatly. I appreciate the thought, but there's no need. We barely know each other. Adding you would just clutter up my contacts. His words were harsh, almost rude. Anyone overhearing might think Fiona had done something to offend him. Fiona's smile faded, a hint of malice creeping into her eyes. Ethan Young, there are a few things I'd like to discuss with you privately. Ethan, you can say it here. It's about your past. You don't mind. The past clearly meant Serena Sinclair. Ethan didn't want to hear anything about Serena, but Fiona had obviously come prepared. Ethan didn't respond, just frowned slightly. Alice jumped in. What is it? Is there something I can't hear? Fiona smiled slightly. It's not appropriate for you to hear. The brief sentence excluded her completely. Alice retorted indignantly. It's not like I care. No sooner had the words left her mouth than Ethan said, Fine, let's talk privately. Alice whipped her head around to look at him, her spirits plummeting. She was actually very curious about Ethan's past and wanted to know what he used to be like. Fiona raised an eyebrow, glanced dismissively at Alice, then pointed towards an empty area. Let's talk over there. Ethan nodded. Once they reached the spot, he stopped and asked, What did you want to say? Fiona didn't beat around the bush. Ethan Young, come work with me. I can give you everything Serena Sinclair gave you, and more. My terms will definitely be better. At the very least, I wouldn't let you walk away with only $20 million. Without a second thought, Ethan refused. I don't need it. His reaction was expected. After ending such an unpleasant contract, he likely harbored some trauma. Asterisk once bitten, twice shy. Asterisk what Serena had done during those 5 years was far worse than a simple snakebite. Anyone would be hesitant to agree so easily. Fiona softened her expression, her tone becoming soothing. Don't be so quick to refuse. Serena doesn't know I'm here yet, but who knows about the future? You know Serena's personality. She deeply regrets letting you go now and is constantly scheming to force you back. With me, at least I can help protect you. Ethan hadn't expected Fiona to have this kind of interest in him. He studied her quietly for a moment before asking, Does Serena know you're doing this? Fiona answered frankly, Not yet, but that could change. In our circle, there's no true friendship, only mutual benefit, fair-weather friends, basically. I'm not afraid of offending her, but you're different. You have a sick sister to worry about. There's something you might not know. 5 years ago, when Starlight Talent Agency targeted you, effectively blacklisting you, the person pulling the strings behind the scenes was actually Serena Sinclair. She did it simply because she wanted to see you desperate and cornered, so you'd obediently sign that stand in agreement. Fiona Fitzgerald had expected Ethan Young to be angry, devastated, maybe even furious when he learned the truth. But his expression was neutral, as if he were listening to something utterly unimportant. How could he be so calm? Fiona sized him up with a probing gaze before asking after a moment. You knew all along? I knew. When did you find out? Ethan seemed lost in recollection. A few months ago. You were all talking about it at the karaoke bar. I was right outside. Fiona thought for a moment, a vague memory surfacing. And you're not angry? Ethan countered, Does getting angry solve anything? You could at least confront her. I already know the answer. Confronting her now would just make her think I'm easy to fool. Ethan said, Whatever happened along the way doesn't matter, as long as the outcome didn't change. My sister made it through those 5 years. I paid off my debts, earned money, and now the performance-based contract is over too. Ethan had always been pragmatic, refusing to get stuck wallowing in self-pity. Since he couldn't change his predicament back then, he decided to go with the flow, doing everything he could within those circumstances to find opportunities to become stronger. Once he was powerful enough, he wouldn't be so easily threatened. Learn from failure. Avoid repeating the mistake. So, there was no point stirring up trouble in those last few months. He just hadn't expected that Serena Sinclair never intended to part ways peacefully from the start. Fiona greatly admired Ethan's resilience. But you see now, Serena Sinclair won't let you go. She still wants you back as her lapdog. 5 years ago, she used tactics to force you into submission, and she can do it again now. You have weaknesses. You can't let go of your sister or your acting career. You know you can't win against someone that powerful. If you were with me, Serena Sinclair wouldn't dare target you, at least. You could focus on your acting without worry. I'd be happy to help with your sister, too. Won't you really think about it? Fiona's eyes lingered on Ethan's face. Truthfully, she'd wanted to poach him for a long time, but unfortunately, Serena Sinclair had never loosened her grip. What woman wouldn't like a man like Ethan Young? Handsome, a good cook, patient with people and situations. He always did whatever task was assigned to him perfectly. In the 5 years he was by Serena Sinclair's side, Fiona had never seen him lose his temper. He had immense tolerance and patience, making him incredibly pleasant to be around. Thinking about the comfortable life Serena used to lead, Fiona wanted to enjoy that queen-like treatment too. When Ethan first left, she and Sophia Sullivan had taken turns trying to persuade Serena, deliberately suggesting Ethan was just playing hard to get, that it was all an act. They figured Serena's arrogance would prevent her from ever asking him back herself. But recently, Sophia had told her via text message that just 10 days after Ethan left, Serena regretted it. She'd even gone to Ethan's place to corner him. It hadn't ended well. Being turned on by the pet she'd kept for 5 years left Serena furious and frustrated. She resorted to late-night drinking, planning to use the same playbook as 5 years ago. If the soft approach didn't work, she'd play hardball. She started suppressing him behind the scenes and even got Emily Young kicked out of Seabreeze General Hospital. Who would have thought Ethan would terminate his contract with Starlight Talent Agency, and that his sister Emily Young would disappear, hidden away somewhere by him? Unable to find leverage to threaten Ethan, Serena grew irritable and agitated, unable even to focus on Lucas Taylor. As the saying goes, the person involved is lost, while the bystander sees clearly. Serena probably hadn't even realized it herself, but somewhere along the way, she had started caring about Ethan Young far more than she cared about Lucas Taylor. If she felt nothing for Ethan, how could she have spent 5 years living side by side with him? A pearl is still a pearl, even if you mistake it for a fisheye. Eventually, its brilliance will attract you. Ethan shook his head. I won't fall into the same trap twice, Miss Fitzgerald. To me, there's no difference between you and Serena Sinclair. Even though she'd half expected it, Fiona's heart sank heavily. Aren't you afraid I'll tell Serena about your situation now? Ethan replied, since I'm still here in Maplewood acting, I'm obviously not afraid of her finding out. Then aren't you worried about the news getting out that you were a kept man? That's a major scandal for a public figure. Film producers will see you as a risk. You won't get roles. You could even be blacklisted by the industry. Fiona was reminding Ethan, but also warning him. The subtext was clear. She could protect him. So, how is this any different from Serena Sinclair? Ethan thought. Miss Fitzgerald, are you threatening me? Fiona offered a half-smile. No, I'm reminding you. And I'm concerned about you. I'm worried people will look down on you. Ethan responded, calm and easygoing. I don't consider those 5 years a stain on my past. To me, there's no shame in earning money, and even less shame in saving my sister. Fiona froze, her expression suddenly turning cold. That's what you think. Others might not agree. People have their own minds. How can I control what they think? If we're really talking about shame, Serena Sinclair is the one who should be ashamed. Wanting everything, never showing restraint. Ethan gave a rare smile, thick with sarcasm. Lucas Taylor isn't even dead yet, and she's already looking for a replacement. If that gets out, what will the Sinclair family think? What will Lucas Taylor think? I hear their families are connected by marriage. The Taylor family would probably care quite a lot about that, wouldn't they? Instead of focusing on an insignificant little nobody like me, I imagine the public would be much more interested in the drama between wealthy families. So, Ethan truly wasn't afraid. When it came to weaknesses, who didn't have them? Serena Sinclair's arrogance was her greatest one. Is using someone's career and life as a threat something to be proud of? No integrity, no morals, no principles. That's the kind of person who deserves to be ridiculed. The words were directed at Serena Sinclair, but they were also meant for Fiona Fitzgerald to hear. Fiona composed her expression, narrowing her eyes slightly. The look she gave Ethan was no longer playful, but serious. It was as if she were seeing him clearly for the first time. You've changed a lot. In my memory, you were always good-tempered, emotionally stable, rarely argued back. You've never been like this before. Ethan replied, deadpan. Is it possible this is who I've always been? I'm an actor, after all. Realization dawned on Fiona. An actor indeed. Such skill, fooling Serena Sinclair for 5 years. We all thought you treated her so well back then because you loved her. Ethan said, I get a checkup every year. I'm physically healthy, nothing wrong with me. Especially mentally. Only someone with Stockholm Syndrome would fall in love with their abuser after repeated mistreatment. All right, Fiona conceded. I won't push you, but I'm serious about liking you. If I pursued you seriously, would you give me a chance? No. Such a quick refusal? You won't even think about it? I have the looks, the body, I have money and power. I'm no worse off than Serena Sinclair. As she spoke, she even puffed out her chest slightly, showcasing her impressive figure. Ethan didn't even glance her way. He simply turned to leave. Ethan Young, wait. At least add me as a friend. Ethan wouldn't budge, whether faced with soft persuasion or hard pressure. Fiona was completely at a loss. Just as she was wondering how to coax or bully him into adding her back as a friend, Alice Taylor suddenly popped up. "Ethan Young, time to get back to work. The director sent me to get you." Alice Taylor stood in the distance, unable to hear anything, relying solely on their body language to decipher the scene. She watched Fiona Fitzgerald suddenly move closer to Ethan Young. If he hadn't dodged quickly, she would have been practically glued to him. What was their relationship? They seemed to know each other well, yet weren't even friends on social media. Fiona was overtly enthusiastic, while Ethan remained aloof. Alice couldn't help but wonder, could Fiona have a crush on Ethan? Fiona had dated countless men and was known for frequenting clubs and showering male models with attention. Ethan was far more attractive than any of those models, definitely Fiona's type. With a woman's intuition, Alice couldn't sit still any longer. She rose and hurried towards Ethan. Seeing Fiona clinging to him, about to invade his personal space again, Alice quickly stepped between them. "Fiona, we're about to start filming. We can't have any distractions. Maybe you should head back now." "What are you filming? A love scene? Are you two playing a couple?" Fiona eyed them both. With a touch of mischief, Alice replied, "It's a secret. We can't show outsiders." "Fiona, weren't you worried about Serena Sinclair? Why don't you go check on her at Seabreeze General Hospital? I'll join you later." "I can wait for you." Alice plastered on a fake smile, eager to get rid of her. "No need to wait. I don't know when we'll finish, and it looks like it's about to rain. You wouldn't want to ruin your makeup." Fiona touched her face. She knew the rules. The crew had signed non-disclosure agreements, and outsiders weren't allowed on set to prevent leaks that could affect the final product. Sighing dramatically, she looked at Ethan coquettishly. "I'll come back another day, then. I'll treat you both to dinner." Alice waved dismissively, eager to see her go. As soon as Fiona left, Alice demanded, "Ethan, what were you two talking about all that time?" Ethan glanced at his watch. "All that time? It was only 15 minutes. 15 minutes isn't a short time. Do you know how much can happen in 15 minutes? Alice's voice rose with excitement. "Does she like you?" Before Ethan could respond, Alice rushed on. "Let me tell you, Fiona loves male models. You wouldn't even register on her radar. Even if she is interested in you, it's just a game. She wouldn't be serious. Heiresses like her play around and then marry some rich guy their parents choose when they're old enough. Feelings don't mean much to them. Don't let her momentary interest go to your head and make you think it's something real." She wasn't intentionally trying to vilify Fiona. It was simply the truth. Fiona enjoyed playing the field, and her circle was full of people just like her. Relationships were casual, but marriage was a different story. When the time came, they'd all follow their parents' arrangements and find a suitable partner for a business merger disguised as matrimony. Fiona did have a thing for male models, and she often brought her friends Sophia Sullivan and Serena Sinclair along for the fun. "I won't get involved with Fiona." "Really?" Alice's eyes held a cautious mix of suspicion and probing. Ethan was like public Wi-Fi. Everyone wanted to connect. "There's no chance of anything happening between us. Don't overthink it." Looking at Ethan's serious expression, Alice tentatively believed him. "Good. You know better." Then, realizing her tone sounded a bit condescending, she quickly added, "I don't mean that you're not good enough. You're great. You're handsome. You have a good personality. I just think you deserve a normal relationship, someone better." Alice continued her heartfelt advice. "But you're still in the early stages of your career. I wouldn't recommend dating right now. Focus on your work, make money while you're young, and prepare for the future. If you really want a girlfriend, I can set you up with someone." Ethan politely declined. "By the way, how's your sister doing? Is she okay now?" Ethan's family situation wasn't a secret on set. Once the director found out, practically everyone knew. Initially, people had looked at him with pity. They shared anything good with him, offered him hand warmers when it was cold, invited him to meals, and told him jokes. He was surrounded by kindness. He had expected a storm after losing his protective umbrella, but instead he'd found clear skies. "She's doing well. Thanks for asking." Alice knew how serious his sister's illness was and figured Ethan was tired of empty platitudes. "If you need anything, let me know." Alice cherished the days she spent filming with Ethan, but sadly, her role was small and filming was wrapping up soon. Would she ever see him again after this? A sense of emptiness settled in her chest. She wished time would slow down just a little. Her preoccupation led to several NGs that afternoon. The two directors played good cop/bad cop. Hank Harrison yelled, "How can you mess up something so simple, Alice? What's going on with you?" Liam Lawrence offered comfort. "Are you feeling stressed lately? Do you need a break? Have some water and relax. If you're really struggling, maybe Ethan can help guide you through it." Ethan watched with his chin resting on his hand, frowning as Alice continued to make mistakes. He had originally planned to release the film on Valentine's Day, but had decided to push it to the Lunar New Year holiday instead. This meant a significantly shorter post-production timeline. To save time, the director was having the crew edit and work on special effects simultaneously with filming. Fortunately, Ethan's pre-production planning was thorough, even including the soundtrack. Filming had been progressing smoothly, with today being the only exception. Everyone on set waited for Alice to compose herself. If this scene couldn't be completed, they wouldn't be able to move forward. Ethan suddenly approached Alice and whispered something to her. When he walked away, Alice stood frozen, as if her soul had left her body. Just when Liam was starting to think they'd have to call it a day, Alice snapped back to reality. She regained her composure, focused, and nailed the scene in one take. Liam breathed a sigh of relief, patted his chest, and gave Ethan a discreet thumbs up. Curious about what Ethan had said, Liam walked over and asked, "What did you tell her?" "Nothing much." He'd simply reminded Alice not to let her personal feelings interfere with her work and not to get too caught up in the role. That was all. He knew Alice would understand the priorities. She was a professional. Alice finished the scene, outwardly calm but inwardly turbulent. It took all her effort to maintain her composure. Had Ethan noticed something? No, he was probably just being considerate, like he was with everyone else. The day's filming finally wrapped. Her assistant brought her a towel and water. Alice reached for her phone. "Give me my phone." To avoid distractions during filming, Alice kept her phone on airplane mode and gave it to her assistant. She checked the time occasionally, but wouldn't look at messages until the end of the day. For urgent matters, people could reach her through her assistant or agent. As soon as Alice connected to the internet, notifications flooded her screen. She saw a new text message from her brother, sent that morning. "Lucas Taylor, I looked up the license plate of that car from last night. It's Ethan Young's." A screenshot of the license plate followed. Alice recognized the number. It was definitely Ethan's car, but a sliver of denial remained. Could she have remembered it wrong? Her hand trembled as she gripped the phone. Her assistant, noticing her distress, asked, "Alice, are you okay?" Alice squeezed the phone tighter, trying to steady herself. She shook her head and quickly followed Ethan. He had changed his clothes and was about to get into his car when Alice called out, "Ethan." He turned around to see Alice staring intently at his car. She compared the license plate in the text message to the one on his car, unable to fool herself any longer. Devastated, she whispered, "How could it have been you last night? How could it have been you and Zara Sinclair?" Her brother hadn't been mistaken. Ethan looked at Alice's distraught face, her eyes red-rimmed and filled with tears. She asked him, "Ethan, did you lend your car to someone last night?" Ethan Young had considered that Alice Taylor would find out eventually, but he hadn't expected it to be this soon. Just this morning, he'd said it wasn't him last night, and by the afternoon, she was confronting him with a photo. The license plate numbers matched perfectly. How could he possibly lie his way out of this? He could say he'd lent the car to someone else, and Alice Taylor might believe him, but for how long? Experience had taught Ethan Young not to rely on luck. Wishful thinking was always a prelude to disaster. It was never worth the gamble. "Didn't you say you weren't there last night? Did you lend your car out?" Alice Taylor gripped her iPhone tightly as she slowly approached Ethan Young. She knew she wasn't acting normally, but she didn't realize just how awful she looked. Her reddened eyes stared stubbornly at Ethan, desperate for an answer, any answer that would let her deceive herself. "I didn't lend it out. That was me driving the car. So why did you lie and tell me you weren't there last night?" If Ethan Young had just told her directly that he'd gone to Laurel Heights last night to drive for a ride-sharing service, she wouldn't have thought anything of it. But he had specifically chosen to hide it. What did that imply? Alice Taylor felt a tightness in her chest, a blockage that made it hard to breathe. A nameless anger inside her snowballed, growing larger and larger. "You lied to me." Alice Taylor trembled with anger. "Ethan Young, after I trusted you so much, you actually lied to me. Why didn't you tell me you were with Zara Sinclair last night? Is your relationship with her something that can't see the light of day?" The seed of doubt planted last night had now sprouted rapidly, taking deep root in her heart. What she hated most was deceit. And how many times had Ethan Young lied to her? The good impression she had built up of Ethan Young was now collapsing like a row of dominoes, one after another. That's how people are. Once you've been deceived, your trust can never fully return to what it was. From then on, you have to weigh the credibility of every word they say. The depth of Alice Taylor's previous trust in Ethan Young now mirrored the depth of her suspicion. She had thought that after filming with Ethan Young for so many days, she knew him well, but now it seemed that understanding was only superficial. She didn't know his past, so she didn't know how he knew Fiona Fitzgerald, let alone how the recently returned Zara Sinclair had gotten in touch with him. Last night's suspicions were being confirmed. Everyone has secrets, but she just couldn't stomach this. Alice Taylor's gaze fixed on Ethan Young as she lashed out. Ethan Young, you really are a busy man, aren't you? Filming all day, then entertaining people at night, driving people around late instead of resting. Ethan Young didn't get angry. He just calmly interrupted her. Are you finished? The calmer Ethan Young remained, the more it made her feel like a hysterical fool. Alice Taylor could no longer maintain her composure. With a choked sob, she said petulantly, No, I'm not finished. I'm not filming anymore. I want to quit. Hearing this, Ethan Young's expression finally changed. He corked his lips, the smile not reaching his eyes, his voice devoid of emotion. What do you want? Alice Taylor searched frantically for words, but they caught in her throat, unable to be spoken, unable to make a sound. She knew what she wanted. She wanted Ethan Young to break up with Zara Sinclair. She wanted Ethan Young to be clean, with no other women around him. She wanted him to stay within her sight, never to leave. Startled by these thoughts, Alice Taylor's face instantly flushed red, as if someone had gripped her throat. Her mind was in turmoil. You clearly have excellent acting skills and can get resources through your work, so why do you need to rely on others? Zara Sinclair was born a rich heiress, with $20 million in assets under her name. And you? Even if you two are together now, it won't last. She's just using you for fun, for novelty. When the time is right, she'll marry a man from a similar background. As for you, selling your looks, coasting on your youth. She's keeping you now, but she'll get tired of you. Alice Taylor said viciously, an actor like you, with a shady past and a record. I don't dare continue working with you. I need to consider the risks and cut my losses. Based solely on Zara Sinclair getting into his car, Alice Taylor had automatically jumped to the conclusion that he was being kept by her, probably assuming that even this movie they were filming was obtained through him selling himself. After all, given the rumors in his past record, it was understandable why Alice Taylor would think that. And from her perspective, assessing the risk was reasonable, especially since her own interests were involved. Ethan Young quickly understood her line of thinking. He asked, So, are you saying that as long as I'm not being kept by Zara Sinclair, you're willing to continue working with me? Alice Taylor hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Yes. Ethan Young thought for a moment, then said, Hold on, I'll send a text message and ask. Asterisk, why not call? Calling would be much faster, and it would let her hear the result herself. Asterisk, she had made herself so clear. Surely Ethan Young would break things off with Zara Sinclair. Alice Taylor couldn't help but think. Asterisk, if Ethan Young really needed money, she could give it to him. She could even introduce him to more resources, help him earn money for his sister's treatment, and buy a big house. Asterisk, waiting for the result. Alice Taylor looked tense, as if the sword of Damocles hung over her head, ready to fall at any moment. Ethan Young took out his iPhone and sent a text message to Zara Sinclair. At this time of day, Zara was still working, so he expected a delay in her reply. Surprisingly, almost immediately after he sent the text, she replied with an OK hand gesture emoji. Asterisk, did she reply so quickly? Did she even read it carefully? Asterisk. Zara Sinclair quickly followed up with a photo of a marriage certificate. Ethan Young put down his iPhone and said carefully, word by word, Zara Sinclair and I are already married. It's not a kept relationship. Alice Taylor froze, feeling as though she'd been punched twice. What did you say? Not kept. Married. Ethan Young repeated succinctly, his expression and tone completely serious, his handsome eyes fixed on her. The words echoed in her mind. Alice Taylor suddenly felt drained, like a lever losing its fulcrum. She stumbled, and after a moment, forced a stiff smile that looked worse than tears. How could you and Zara Sinclair possibly be married? You're not just making this up because you don't want to break things off with her, are you? Once Alice Taylor started down a line of thought, she tended to spiral into wilder speculation. Her face fell as she continued. If you're going to lie, couldn't you at least make it believable? Zara Sinclair just got back from overseas, and she's the eldest daughter of the Sinclair family. How could she possibly marry you? She was abroad for 6 or 7 years. Her worldliness and education far surpass yours. I've known Zara for years. Forget marriage. She's never even had a boyfriend. And you're telling me she's married you? When did you even meet? Don't tell me she just got back. You met and had a whirlwind wedding? Are you kidding me? It was hard to say whether Alice Taylor's mind worked too well or not well enough. Sometimes the scenarios she cooked up were worthy of a tabloid writer. Other times, her radar zeroed in surprisingly fast, hitting on bits of the truth. We actually did get married shortly after meeting. I can't tell you why she likes me, but she chose me, and I chose her. As for deceiving you, Ethan Young retorted, what is there about you worth deceiving? Ethan Young pulled up the marriage certificate photo on his phone, holding it clearly in front of Alice Taylor. This is my and Zara Sinclair's marriage certificate. Alice Taylor's first reaction was that it was photoshopped. She stared intently at the certificate. In the picture, Zara Sinclair had a sweet smile, completely different from the Zara she'd seen last night. Zara Sinclair always gave off an impression of distance and coolness. Even her smiles were polite, formulaic. She rarely let people get close, and, admittedly, it was hard to get close to her. But in this photo, Alice Taylor could clearly feel Zara Sinclair's genuine happiness. Her head was tilted, trying to get closer to the man beside her. Alice Taylor's mind raced frantically, searching for a flaw, any proof that this wasn't real. Yet, she knew no one would risk such an easily exposed lie. Ethan Young lowered his iPhone. If you still don't believe it, you can call her directly. You know her. You should have her number. Her eyes stung. Alice Taylor bit her lip hard, swallowing the scream that threatened to tear out of her throat. After half an hour, Alice Taylor's voice finally broke the silence in the garage. Why didn't you tell me from the beginning? Ethan Young replied, Zara Sinclair and I kept our marriage secret. No one knew. Asterisk, that's true. Asterisk, if word got out that Zara Sinclair was married, it would cause a huge stir. Besides, what right did she have to expect Ethan Young to volunteer the information? They hadn't known each other long. Ultimately, they were just colleagues. On set, he treated everyone equally, never showing undue attention to anyone, just doing his job conscientiously. What did her personal turmoil have to do with him? Alice Taylor looked down, and tears immediately welled up and fell. She quickly turned her head away, hiding her eyes and the awful emotions swirling within her. After a long silence, Ethan Young spoke. I've proven to you that I'm not being kept by Zara Sinclair. So, you can stay and finish filming now, right? Alice Taylor kept her head down, saying nothing. Ethan Young frowned slightly and asked tentatively, You still don't want to film? Alice Taylor remained silent. Truthfully, she didn't have many scenes left. Both her sense of responsibility and her emotions told her she couldn't just quit. This movie wasn't just about her. The entire cast and crew had poured their time and energy into it. She couldn't be so selfishly irresponsible. She had taken a role initially because she loved the script. The longer she worked on it, the deeper her connection grew. For an actor, a project is like a child you've painstakingly raised. The more effort you pour into it, the harder it is to let go. Besides, based on her years of experience in the industry, she had a feeling this film would be a hit after its release, maybe even the top-grossing film of the year. Alice Taylor had actually already made up her mind, but she needed someone to give her an easy way out, a way to back down gracefully. Ethan Young seemed to see right through her. He patiently reasoned. For the past 20-odd days, you've woken up early every day to memorize lines, discuss the plot and shots with the director. If you give up now, it means all that effort was for nothing. Can you really let that go? Besides you, there are all the crew members here. Everyone wants to finish filming smoothly, so we can see the final cut in theaters during the Christmas season. Finally, Ethan Young played his trump card. Besides, this script was written specifically for you. Don't you want to meet the original author? Alice Taylor was moved, but she remained stubborn. Then tell me who the writer is. How do I know you're not just saying that to placate me? I'm a screenwriter. Alice Taylor snapped her head up, tears still wet at the corners of her glistening eyes. You're saying you wrote the screenplay? And this character I'm playing, you based her on me? Alice Taylor's eyes widened, as if she couldn't believe he was telling the truth. Ethan Young nodded. At this point, there was no need to hide it anymore. Alice Taylor felt her heart ache even more, as if it had been riddled with holes, and then had salt and vinegar poured onto the wounds. She asked plaintively, Why didn't you say so on the first day? Ethan Young answered honestly, Just like you didn't trust me, I didn't trust you either. Besides, it wasn't my decision alone. There was also Hank Harrison and Liam Lawrence. After all, Ethan Young wrote the script, chose the lead actress, and was also starring in it. If that situation got out, it would inevitably lead to some unsavory speculation. Then why now? Ethan Young looked at her, his eyes clear, and said earnestly, Because now I trust you completely. That's why I'm willing to tell you this. Ethan Young probably had no idea how much impact those words had on Alice Taylor. Her heart, which had felt riddled with holes, seemed to be slowly filled with soft cotton. She tried desperately to hold back her emotions, but her eyes still trembled uncontrollably. Whether she wanted to admit it or not, she had fallen for Ethan Young. Because she liked him, she dreamed about him. Because she liked him, She was afraid Fiona Fitzgerald would snatch him away. And it was precisely because she liked him that she couldn't bear to leave. Falling for him while working together was part of it. But more importantly, he was honest, kind, generous, and gentle. And now, there was something else. He understood her. He was wonderful. After countless internal struggles and efforts to brace herself, she had finally, with great difficulty, faced her own feelings. But fate had played a cruel joke on her. Before she could even take that step, her budding romance was over before it began. If she had known, she would have rather remained ignorant. At least then she could have deceived herself, without the burden of this moral dilemma. Now, she couldn't deceive herself at all. The thought of that marriage certificate photo felt like a knife twisting in her heart. She looked at Ethan Young's hand. She could clearly reach out and touch him, yet she felt he was impossibly far away. The sudden, shrill ring of an iPhone beside her ear jarred her, like an invisible hand yanking her forcefully from her thoughts. Alice Taylor glanced at the phone. It was Lucas Taylor calling. Alice Taylor answered the phone right there in front of Ethan Young. "What is it?" Her tone was impatient. She was in a terrible mood and took it out on the caller. Lucas Taylor apparently didn't notice her tone and got straight to the point. The guy who picked up Zara Sinclair last night was Ethan Young. What exactly is his relationship with her? It was quiet around them, and Ethan Young, standing nearby, heard every word clearly. Alice Taylor snapped back rudely. "Whatever their relationship is, it's none of your damn business. Why don't you worry about Serena Sinclair instead of asking about Zara?" Lucas Taylor was clearly taken aback by her response. There was silence for a moment, the atmosphere growing tense. After a pause, he retorted furiously. "Alice Taylor, what kind of attitude is that? What's with your tone? I'm your brother. I've known Zara for years. Can't I be concerned about her? That Ethan Young in your crew, anyone can see he's just a pretty boy, a kept man. He definitely has ulterior motives for getting close to her." Right there in front of Ethan Young, Alice Taylor lashed out at her brother. "He's no freeloader. He's way better than you." In her eyes, Ethan Young, who could both act and write scripts, was capable of anything. If the director had told her on day one that Ethan Young wrote the script, she probably would have fallen for him even sooner, becoming hopelessly lost. Only after speaking did Alice Taylor remember Ethan Young was right there. She glanced up at him, then quickly lowered her gaze. "He has nothing to do with Zara Sinclair." She couldn't help retorting. "You can't just call him a pretty boy because he's better looking than you." Lucas Taylor laughed angrily. "Then why was he there last night? He was just a driver. What did you think? Zara Sinclair just got back from abroad and is busy with work every day. Where would she find time to meet Ethan Young? Bro, stop maliciously speculating about their relationship. It just makes you look petty." Listening to the slightly heavy breathing through her iPhone, Alice knew without looking that Lucas Taylor on the other end was absolutely furious. He was seeing red. Alice vented all her frustration, treating Lucas like a dumping ground. Who could she blame? Just his bad luck. Actually, the tightness in her chest seemed to ease up. She felt much lighter all of a sudden. She wasn't stressed anymore, but she had thoroughly infuriated Lucas Taylor. His tone turned harsh. "Alice Taylor, you're not allowed to film this movie. What gives you the right to order me around? Because I'm your brother, and because the Taylor family listens to me, you think I wouldn't tell Mom and Dad about you?" "About what?" "That you've fallen for Ethan Young. That you got too deep into your role and developed real feelings." Lucas Taylor's voice was deep, each word like a knife cutting through her pretense. "Tell me, if I told Mom and Dad about this, wouldn't they make you come home?" Her heart thumped a few times. Alice subconsciously glanced towards Ethan Young, but he wasn't there anymore. He had walked off somewhere at some point. Anger flared up in Alice too. She gripped her iPhone tightly, her upper body trembling from the force. She clenched her jaw, her mind racing. After a moment, an idea struck her. If Lucas Taylor could threaten her, so could she. And she happened to have something she could use. "I'm not leaving the set, and you better not cause trouble for Ethan Young. If you dare tattle, I'll tell Serena Sinclair about that necklace." She didn't know if this would actually threaten Lucas Taylor, but she had a vague feeling there was something suspicious about that necklace. "You're threatening me?" Lucas sounded incredulous, speaking through gritted teeth. "You're threatening me over that pretty boy?" She could tell Lucas Taylor was genuinely angry. Alice didn't panic at all. She said firmly, "It's not for him, it's for myself. I won't allow any problems with the production I'm involved in. This is my life, and it represents the 5 years of effort in my contract." The iPhone suddenly went quiet. The silence stretched on for a long time. Just as Alice thought he might have hung up, his voice came through again. "Fine, do what you want." The call ended abruptly. Alice lowered her hand, staring at the phone number on the screen. It was impossible not to feel sad. He was her brother, after all, the one who had doted on her and loved her since they were kids. And now, she had lashed out at him, saying such cruel things, all because of Ethan Young. The more she thought about it, the sadder she felt, an empty ache of regret filling her. Alice pressed her lips together, then walked straight towards Ethan Young. She had said everything that needed to be said, and maybe some things that didn't. She hadn't tried to hide the call from Ethan Young. Her intention was for him to hear her decision clearly. I will finish filming the rest of the movie properly. I won't quit halfway. Ethan Young said, "Thank you. You don't need to thank me. This is simply the responsibility and duty of an actress. I was too impulsive before. I shouldn't have threatened to quit just because I was angry." Alice looked up, her eyes catching shimmering fragments of light in the dimness. After a moment of silence, she took a deep breath. "About you and Zara Sinclair being married. I didn't tell my brother. Don't worry, I'll keep it a secret. I'm not helping you. I'm just helping Zara Sinclair. Since you chose a secret marriage, you obviously don't want outsiders to know," she emphasized. "If word got out, it would definitely impact Zara Sinclair significantly." Alice still doubted their relationship. To her, a whirlwind marriage was the least reliable kind. Reality was full of examples of post-wedding conflicts. Besides, the gap between Zara Sinclair and Ethan Young was huge. Their family backgrounds didn't match, and there was a vast difference in their finances. Ethan Young was just a minor actor. He would never be good enough for Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair. In their social circle, a marriage not approved by the Taylor family rarely lasted. If Ethan Young and Zara Sinclair eventually divorced, then she might have a chance. Unlike Zara Sinclair, as the younger daughter of the Taylor family, her parents didn't have high expectations for her. She didn't have to carry the burden of the Taylor family name. They wouldn't force her into a strategic marriage. She could do what she loved, marry the person she loved. Coveting a married man was highly immoral. Yet once the idea took hold, it took root and sprouted, making it impossible to control her thoughts. All she could do was try hard to restrain her actions, not cross the line, not compromise her principles. Maybe they chose to keep the marriage a secret, because even they suspected people wouldn't approve. Hiding her own hopes, Alice Taylor asked, "Ethan Young, do you love Zara Sinclair?" Just as Ethan Young was about to answer, she cut him off frantically. "Never mind. Don't say it." More than anyone, Alice Taylor hoped Ethan Young's marriage would stay completely hidden, unknown to everyone. Because only then, after he eventually divorced Zara Sinclair, would she have a chance. Even though her parents doted on her, they wouldn't necessarily accept a divorced man. "I've said everything I needed to. You should go. I need to head back too." Seeing that Alice Taylor seemed to understand, Ethan Young breathed a sigh of relief. Anything more he could say at this point would be pointless. "Okay, I'll head out then. You get back soon too. Be safe." After exchanging a few pleasantries, Ethan Young got into his car. Just as Alice Taylor thought he was leaving, the car window rolled down and Ethan Young leaned out. "Alice Taylor, I still wanted to thank you. Thank you for understanding." The car slowly pulled away, its headlights cutting through the dim driveway. Alice Taylor stood watching Ethan Young leave until the car was out of sight. Only then did she manage to move her stiff legs. After taking a couple of steps, she suddenly crouched down, burying her face in her arms as large tears began to fall. She hadn't dared to cry while Ethan Young was there, afraid he would sense the feelings she carefully hid, afraid she wouldn't be able to face him. The tears streamed down fiercely, but she made almost no sound. Tiny, broken sobs caught in her throat, like a long thorn lodged there. She didn't know how long she cried. When Alice Taylor finally stood up, her legs had gone numb. She wiped her tears away, pressing her cold hands against her hot eyelids to soothe the ache and clear her head. She was still young, 6 years younger than Zara Sinclair. She could endure this. She could afford to wait. Halfway through the drive, rain began to fall from the misty sky. The windshield wipers swished back and forth relentlessly. The air conditioning was on inside the car, making it slightly stuffy, a stark contrast to the damp cold outside. Zara Sinclair got cold easily, so the AC temperature was always set to her comfort level. It was just right for her, but a little too warm for Ethan Young. He turned off the AC and noticed a tin of mints in the door compartment, left there by Zara Sinclair. Besides the mints, there was the good luck charm hanging from the rearview mirror, the gardenia air freshener, the throw pillows and small blanket on the back seat, the water bottles and umbrella in the trunk. Unconsciously, more and more things related to Zara Sinclair had accumulated. A casual glance in any direction reminded him of her. Ethan Young popped a mint into his mouth and called Zara Sinclair. As soon as the call connected, Ethan Young asked, "It's raining out. Did you bring an umbrella?" I forgot. Zara Sinclair replied. Without an umbrella, my clothes will get soaked. On a cold day like this, I'll definitely catch a cold, won't I? And my shoes. As a boss, even if she forgot an umbrella, one of her employees would surely get one for her. Besides, her car was parked in the company's underground garage with direct elevator access. How could she possibly get rained on? Listening to Zara Sinclair's voice, picturing her playful expression, Ethan Young's own features softened. Why don't I come pick you up? That would be great. Thanks for going out of your way. The call stayed connected. The rain grew heavier, drumming on the car roof like firecrackers popping, the sound echoing through the phone. Are you driving right now? Yeah, I should be there in about half an hour. It looks like it's raining really hard out there. Drive carefully. Okay. Is everything settled with Alice Taylor? I've explained everything to her. She agreed to keep our secret. So, they were still keeping the marriage hidden. Zara Sinclair sounded slightly disappointed. And here I thought I might have to step in myself. Ethan Young couldn't help but laugh. Okay, focus on driving. I won't distract you. Since he knew the route well, Ethan Young didn't use navigation. He left his iPhone untouched in its holder, assuming Zara Sinclair had hung up, until a snatch of singing came through the speaker. Entangle, kiss, hold me like the spring breeze. Entangle, kiss, are you the tulip? Entangle, kiss, does poetry praise love? Snap, frame by frame, freezing love. She was humming sweetly. It was a Cantonese song he'd heard on short video clips, but Zara sang it much better. Through the iPhone, Ethan Young listened to the sounds of her walking, muffled chatter, and then heading into the restroom, the faucet running as she washed her hands. Quite a while passed before Zara Sinclair realized. You never hung up? Ethan Young cleared his throat twice. No, I thought you would. Then just now, her voice sounded a little tight. Ethan Young leaned back against the seat, his hand resting lightly on the steering wheel. Her singing echoed in his mind, and he tapped his fingers rhythmically a few times. It sounded really nice. Zara Sinclair laughed. Arriving at his destination, Ethan Young parked outside the Sinclair Group headquarters. The receptionist, already familiar with him, approached as soon as she saw him. Mr. Young is. Sinclair said you should go straight up to her office. Thanks. Ethan Young had only been here twice before. Zara Sinclair had given him an access card for the elevator, which went directly to the top floor. He didn't encounter anyone on the way up. The door to the CEO's office was slightly ajar. Ethan Young knocked, but there was no answer. Just as he was about to call her, a figure flashed past the crack in the door. Ethan Young quietly lowered his iPhone, murmuring to himself in a slightly puzzled tone, "The door's not closed. Should I just go in?" He pushed the door open and went inside. Zara Sinclair thought she was well hidden behind the door, but he'd already known she was there. He pretended not to notice, deliberately looking around. Where'd she go? He heard footsteps behind him. Ethan Young lowered his head, an unconscious smile playing on his lips. Boo! Zara Sinclair tiptoed sneakily up behind him and then leaped onto his back. Ethan Young caught her easily, supporting her weight as he turned his head to look at her. Zara Sinclair wrapped her arms around his neck, nuzzling her face against his cheek and shoulder. Did I scare you? Ethan Young's breath was warm against her skin. Scare me to death. You just jumped like that. What if I hadn't caught you and you fell? I wouldn't have fallen. I trust you. Hooking her calves lightly around his solid waist, Zara Sinclair rested her head on his shoulder. Carry me over to the sofa. As they neared the sofa, Zara Sinclair wriggled her feet, signaling for Ethan Young to put her down. The moment Ethan Young set her down, a sudden force pushed him backward onto the sofa. Before he could react, Zara Sinclair was pressing down on him, straddling his lap with her legs apart. She was wearing a skirt, its layers bunched up around her thighs, revealing black stockings underneath. Worried she might lose her balance, Ethan Young gripped her waist tightly. They were incredibly close, their breaths mingling. She didn't dye her hair. It flowed like dark seaweed. He'd seen her wash it before. When blow-dried, it fell into these natural waves. Her skin was fair, and her lips were a deep red, like red velvet cake. Zara Sinclair braced her hands on either side of him, arching her back as she leaned down. She kissed his lips again and again, tracing from the corner to the center, deepening the kiss. Ethan Young steadied his breathing. He tucked a stray strand of her hair behind her ear, his thumb gently stroking the sensitive curve. Outside, the raindrops fell harder and faster. Muffled thunder rumbled, syncing with their heartbeats like a harmony. Zara Sinclair quickly lost her strength, and Ethan Young took the lead. Mint, she murmured. Ethan took a moment to register what she'd said. I had a mint before I came up here. So, before you had the mint, were you already planning on kissing me? Ethan pursed his lips, his gaze following Zara's red lips. Zara shifted her leg, moving closer, her right hand gently lifting his chin. So, did you taste anything on my lips? No. Ethan's voice was husky. He cupped the back of her head, kissing her again. This time, his movements were less forceful, as if savoring a delicious cake. Zara's lips were the color of red velvet cake, and they tasted like it too, sweet and creamy, impossible to get enough of. After a long moment, Ethan released her. Cream, he said seriously. Zara's eyes were hazy. She blinked. Wrong. Try again. Sometimes, the urge to abandon all restraint and succumb was overwhelming. Only the last vestiges of reason kept Ethan in check. He pulled Zara's head against his chest. The door. I think it's unlocked. It's fine. Zara hummed, her hand pressing against Ethan's abs. No one will come in. Ethan caught her wandering hand. I don't think it's completely closed. Don't worry, no one's looking. Just as Zara was urging Ethan to continue, the ringing of an iPhone interrupted them. They exchanged glances. Zara, her face falling, grumbled in displeasure. Ethan stroked her hair affectionately. Answer the phone. Zara picked up the iPhone from the sofa and looked at the caller ID. Without even checking who it was, she answered. She didn't move away from Ethan, remaining intimately seated on his lap, one hand holding the iPhone, the other toying with the buttons on his shirt. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair's slightly weary voices came through the phone. Zara, come down to the Seabreeze police station and sign the performance-based contract. Your mother isn't well, and it's so cold out now. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair had run in circles, only to end up back at Zara. It turned out the shady nurse had been deliberately planted by them. They knew exactly how Sinclair Foods Inc. had lost money. They'd stop at nothing to pave the way for their precious younger daughter. She isn't well. She seems perfectly capable of scheming, Zara said, sarcasm lacing her voice. If you wanted to let her off, follow the proper procedures. Compensate me for the losses from this 5-year contract. Pay what's owed, and I'll consider settling. That would cost a fortune, no less than $20 million. Mr. Sinclair coughed, his voice strained. She's your mother. Can't you just let it go? Why don't you let that big project you're bidding on go to your competitor? Zara retorted. Mr. Wong is 15 minutes older than you. He's worked hard for so many years. He has so many employees. Isn't it cruel to treat an elderly man like that just to steal a deal from him? That's different. We're family, and it's all within the family business. Why be so rigid about it? Mr. Sinclair argued. Zara laughed, her patience wearing thin. You don't know pain until the fire burns you. Since it's all family business, then sell Serena Sinclair's company to pave the way for me. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair fell silent. Showing mercy to others is cruelty to me. Because we're family, I'm the one who has to suffer. Is that it? Then let's just sever ties. You're being unreasonable. Mrs. Sinclair snapped. I'm reasonable, so I'm stating my case. Unlike some people who try to get something for nothing, Zara replied. I don't mind you favoring Serena, but if she causes me to lose even a penny of profit because of you, don't blame me for being unkind to her. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair, knowing they were in the wrong, were momentarily speechless. Zara adopted a strictly business-like tone. They wanted her to value family ties and repay evil with good. But how could she repay good with good if she repaid evil with good? In Zara's view, if someone harmed you, they were stealing your good fortune. To reclaim it, you had to retaliate. Reciprocity maintained balance. If you always cowered and endured, your luck would gradually weaken until anyone could walk all over you. Realizing their words held no sway with Zara, and that she refused to reconcile no matter how they pleaded, Mr. Sinclair exploded. Zara, you're being absurd. Don't forget who's really in charge of the Sinclair family. You don't get to call all the shots yet. To put it bluntly, even though Sinclair Foods Inc. was under Zara's name, it was just a subsidiary of the Sinclair Group. Listening to Mr. Sinclair's outburst, Zara traced circles on Ethan's chest with her fingertip, an unconscious movement, yet a subconscious seduction. Since she was on the phone, Ethan didn't stop her or react overtly, which worked in Zara's favor. She undid another button, her gaze lingering on the glimpse of his pectoral muscles beneath, her hand trailing from his bobbing atoms apple down inside his shirt, her palm resting against the steady beat of his heart. Ethan's breathing grew heavier. Perhaps sensing something amiss, another man's voice came through the phone. Zara, where are you? It was Lucas Taylor. He was with Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair. What's that sound? He asked.